Good evening. Hello, welcome.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, Boris. Nice to see you. All right.
Hello.
Okay, we've got Hala. Hello, Hala. We've got Natalia. All right. Hello, Natalia.
Hi.
And there's Christine. Good evening, Christine. Hello.
Hi there, how are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Christine, I love your bookshelves in the background.
Yeah, the red room.
I'm guessing there are a lot of
Mhm.
gifts from students over the years.
Yeah, I wish I could say students gave me all those teddy bears, but no, I'm a collector.
Oh, sweet. Very sweet. Aw. Well, folks, we're waiting for just a few more people to come on in and join us. So we'll give them another minute or two. And then I'll go ahead and start off and tell us how the evening's going to proceed. And I will introduce our keynote speaker, Christine. We had about 60 people register for the event. So I think
Mhm.
many of them will come in as the evening goes on and go
Okay.
out as need be. So we are expecting a crowd, as it were. All right. So, folks, if would you want to tell us where you are in the world and maybe tell us where your TESOL affiliate is? You're welcome to type in the chat where you're currently located and what your TESOL affiliate is as we wait another minute or so for folks to join. All right, Natalia's in Kazakhstan. Natalia, I'm sure Kazakhstan is very proud of the gold medal that has just been acquired in men's figure skating. I don't know if everyone's
Mhm.
been watching the Olympics. It's been quite exciting to see some of the top male skaters not do as well as I think they were anticipating. So congratulations to Kazakhstan. All right, and Daya, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. You're joining from Kurdistan and Hala as well. All right. And Christine, of course, is joining us from Dubai. All right. All right. Marianella, of course, is joining us from Montevideo, Uruguay. All right. Moscow. Boris, you're joining us from Moscow.
Hi, Boris.
And Dua,
Hello.
I hope I pronounced your name properly. You're joining us from Syria. Fabulous. Wow. All right. Okay, folks, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll have people drifting in and out as the evening goes on. Um, I'm going to share my screen with you just so that you have a little chance to listen to our introduction. So, thank you so very much for joining us for what we know is going to be a fun evening of professional development from a number of countries around the world. We're titling our event tonight Leadership in Times of Transition, a webinar for MENA, Middle East, and North Africa TESOL affiliate leaders. And we are hosting this through the Affiliate Network Professional Council, the ANPC. I'll tell you a little bit more about what the ANPC is. But meanwhile, as we have more and more people zooming in and joining us, please feel free to tell us where you live and what your TESOL affiliate is. That'll help us get to know each other a little bit more. And we are going to be joined by Marwan Abdi, who is the chair-elect of the Affiliate Network Professional Council. Myself, I am the chair for 4 more weeks at least of the ANPC. And our colleague Jermaine McDougald will also be joining us shortly. We are also going to be joined by Okan Ifyong, who is the TESOL board liaison to the ANPC, and he's also the incoming president, the president-elect to the International TESOL organization. And our TESOL staff liaison, Jeff Hutchison, will also be dipping in and out as the evening goes on tonight. Myself, I am an emerita professor from the University of Indianapolis, where I taught for many years teacher education, TESOL courses, and literature courses as well. I've been involved with the TESOL organization and with my affiliate in Indiana for more than 30 years. It's been an amazing experience for me to grow through both my affiliate and TESOL. And events just like this, webinars, in-person meetings, and of course our annual conference were really some of the most important things for my career professionally. And I hope for many of you, you will be able to say the same. We've just been joined by Marwan. Marwan, can I ask you to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you so much. I'm sorry about being late. Actually, I just joined like 2 minutes late. I'm so sorry if I cannot open my camera. Uh, uh, I would like to introduce myself as a member of the ANPC. I've been working with the wonderful team of the Affiliate Network Professional Council for more than 3-4 years. I'm happy and honored to be coordinating and helping with people like Kevin Newman. And basically, I'm based in the Middle East and currently in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. And I would be happy to be taking part and coordinating and sharing insights within this meeting with the wonderful team of the scholars who have dedicated their life to improving the quality of education and English language teaching in the world. Thank you so much.
All right, great to hear you, Marwan. Marwan is based in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. So just a little bit more information before we get started. The ANPC, the purpose of our organization is to support TESOL by helping to support the affiliates worldwide, of which each of you are a member. Our goal is also to increase communication between and among affiliates and the TESOL International Organization. One of our additional missions is to support programming like the event that we're hosting tonight. We are also advising TESOL on initiatives and activities that are germane to the strategic direction of the TESOL organization. And another thing we do is also publish 2 newsletters a year. And we also host sessions at TESOL's International Convention. Why are we here tonight? Our main goal for our session tonight is to connect affiliate leaders in the MENA region and across the world to discuss common interests and concerns around, well, at least for one of our panels related to AI. We are also interested in learning from colleagues about successful and less successful strategies in AI use, and also in a variety of leadership issues that we will be focusing on in each of our panels tonight. And of course, importantly, we're here to meet other colleagues in the region and around the world to make new connections and learn some new ideas for the work that we do in our specific context. What's going to happen tonight is we're going to start off with Dr. Christine Koom, who's going to be our keynote speaker. We will continue until about 7:45 this evening. We'll give everyone a break. And then we will come back at 8 p.m. And I should mention this is, of course, on Arab Standard Time. So some of you may be tuning in at slightly different times. So the times here are listed in, should I say, Arabian Standard Time. Our first panel will then take place after the keynote speech from 8 to 8:45 p.m. Again, we'll give everyone a 15-minute break. Our second panel will then focus on conflict and leadership from 9 to 9:45 p.m. And our final panel of the evening will focus on resilience, collaboration, and adaptability for leadership. So that's how our evening is going to look. And we'll be sure to give breaks in between each of the panels so that you guys can take a little bit of a mental break and grab some food, as the case may be. What we're going to do is we're going to get started right away with our keynote speaker, Dr. Christine Koom. She's going to be telling us a little bit more about her 30 years and 30 leadership lessons learned through the course of her career. Let me just briefly introduce you to Dr. Coombe. She has a PhD in foreign and second language education from the Ohio State University in the United States. And she's currently Associate Professor of General Studies at the Higher Colleges of Technology in the United Arab Emirates and is based in Dubai. She's published over 60 books in various topics related to TESOL and English language teaching, and she's lived and worked in the Gulf region for the past 33 years. Without further ado, let me go ahead and turn things over to Christine, who's going to share a little bit more about her experiences over the years. Christine, it's all yours.
Thank you, Karen. Greetings, everyone. I won't say good evening, good morning, good day, because I see we're all from all over the place. So it's good evening for me, and I'm happy to receive this invitation on behalf of the ANPC to talk about a little bit about my leadership journey here in Dubai with my home affiliate, TESOL Arabia, now called TESOL Conferences. So let me go ahead and put my share my screen, and then we're going to get started. Hmm. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint?
We can't,
Yes, no?
Christine, and give me a second. I'm going to make you a co-host so that I think you'll be able to share your screen. Just one second.
Okay. Yeah, how about now? Perfect, right? Okay.
We've got it.
Okay, so just a disclaimer before I begin that these lessons are highly personal. Some of them might resonate with you and with affiliate leaders throughout the world, but they are coming from my own leadership journey. So let's start out by going through what I hope to accomplish in the next 40 or so minutes. I'm going to start with my own leadership journey vis-a-vis TESOL International Association and TESOL Arabia. And then I'll share my 30 leadership lessons learned. And then I'll talk about a little bit about my leadership lesson wish list, kind of things that I still have yet to learn and areas where I need to evolve. And then hopefully we'll have time for questions and, where to from here. What does it all mean? Well, this topic is very meaningful for me because just last weekend we had the 30th anniversary conference of TESOL Arabia. And it was a great time, and just in it we instituted a 30 at 30 award and awarded 30 longtime servant leaders of TESOL Arabia. And it was a great, not only was the conference great, but seeing people who hadn't attended in a few years kind of all come together to be honored in such a way was really a thrill for me, and as it was for many people. So I'm coming off kind of a high from the conference, a tired high, but a high nonetheless, coming off of the conference from last weekend. So let's get started with my leadership journey. Well, I landed in the Gulf, not in the UAE where I'm based now, but in Oman, 32 days post PhD. I settled into my job teaching in the teacher education department at Sultan Qaboos University, where I stayed for 2 years. I then moved to the UAE and took on my first and last formal leadership position, where I headed the testing department of the UAE University. I have to say that this was not a pleasant experience. Uh, I was kind of like the figurehead in charge of testing, but nobody from the higher administration listened to a word I said. And I often had to hand down directives that I knew were not right. were not ethically right and were not pedagogically sound, much less best practice in assessment. So I kind of lasted a couple of years in that position, but I made the decision, which turned out to be the best decision of my life, and decided no more being department chair, head of this, head of that in a paid formal leadership position. I decided to turn my attention on informal leadership positions, volunteer servant leadership, and I joined the TESOL Arabia Executive Council in 1993. Um, it was at that time I decided to let go of formal leadership and made again this important decision to go back to teaching full time and get my leadership experience and continue my leadership journey in leading associations. So I threw myself into these positions through not only TESOL Arabia, later TESOL International, and Toastmasters. Another, I like to say that the letter T has a significance for me in my life. Not only am I a teacher and a tester as my area of specialization, TESOL Arabia, TESOL International, Toastmasters, and now TURF. So this letter has been like significant in my life. So I threw myself into volunteer leadership and pretty much never looked back. And here we are, well, more than 30 years later, still doing these same things. So I think it's now time for my top 30 lessons. And these are in no order of importance or no specific order. So this list was one of the hardest I've had to compile because there are so many lessons that I could have chosen. Again, no specific order of importance. Let's get on to number one. Well, I think, first of all, if we look at the literature about leadership, I think it's important that leaders understand that certain leadership traits are innate, meaning we're born with them, while others can be learned. So I'm a firm believer that there are people who do have leadership qualities, but I didn't feel like I was one of those people. And a lot of my leadership skills were learned. In fact, in 2008, when I just started to become involved in TESOL International Association as the last elected convention chair of the Tampa 2006 conference, I did not know. And one of the issues that we have as TESOL leaders is that we're often thrust into leadership positions with no real training. Unless you've got, an MA in leadership and management, you don't have any training. So I looked around, like many of you, if I need to learn something, I kind of look for books and still do, and articles and things like that. Didn't really find anything. And this led me to edit a book on leadership skills for English language teaching and learning. Kind of that was the output that I did to learn more about the area that I wanted to go in. So understanding that certain leadership traits we're born with while others can be learned is an important lesson that I learned very early on in my leadership journey. The second lesson is that we need to also learn about and understand the various leadership styles out there. It's kind of like an alphabet soup, as they say. And also to realize that, you might consider yourself a democratic leader or a servant leader, but you're gonna find yourself in situations where you'll have to use more than one of these leadership styles. You might have to be autocratic. You might have to be a laissez-faire leader. There are many leadership styles that you will need to know about and you'll probably experiment with throughout your leadership journey. The third lesson for me is that you can't just use a one-size-fits-all approach in your leadership dealings with others. Many people need an individual approach. It's kind of like differentiated learning, right? Maybe I don't know if there's a term differentiated leadership, but the same kind of overview lies for leadership approaches. Number four is this is an important one that you'll learn very early on. I personally believe that the more you do, the more you can do. Okay. Oftentimes, I have chaired the TESOL Arabia conference 17 times. Now, the first and the second time I did it, as you do things, you become better at it. Then the third and the fourth, I tried to kind of step back. Nobody on the council said, well, we can't do it as well as you can do it. And I said, yeah, that's because you've let me do it all these years. So the more you do, the more you can do, the better you get at things. But the correlate, the thing that could be one of the negative aspects of being good and being a good leader is that the more you do, the more people will expect of you and they'll expect you to do. And we all know sometimes that being good is punitive, right? Because, the people in your department, the lazy schleppers, never get asked to do extra work. It's the ones that are reliable and the ones that you can count on who always get these huge extra tasks because people know that they can count on you and that you'll do a good job. The same is true with association leadership. Lesson 5 for me is have a plan and have a plan, but also write it down. But also, when you do, make sure it's simple and actionable and track your progress through regular check-ins. I'm sure you've all heard the research out there into productivity about you are 30% more likely to accomplish something, a goal, or something on your to-do list if it is written down. The very action of writing something down kind of makes it more tangible. So have a plan and also have a written plan, not just with leadership stuff, but with everything that you do, resolutions or strategic plan, etc. I'm also a big proponent of personal and professional strategic planning, which I have done for other professional councils, the Teacher Ed Professional Council early last year, which is a really good practice to get in to start planning, kind of your goals and your own whether it be your own PD initiatives or your own PD or research agenda. Very important. Moving on to lesson 6. I think it's important to try to be a source of inspiration. In fact, right before I came on here, I posted today about winning the 30 at 30 award at TESOL conferences. I was one of 30 people to be awarded this award, and I was the only person to receive this award for 30 years of service. And I was reading all the posts of so many, it's hard to stay humble. Staying humble is another leadership lesson you should learn, although I forgot to include it in this list of 30. But oftentimes with association leadership, it's hard to stay humble because people say such nice things about you. And it's hard to keep your ego in check. So right before I prepared this presentation, which was in 2024, I received this email from one of my mentees from Africa, Elta, who told me about when I was in during my presidential year or my past presidential year, I went to the Camelta Symposium in Cameroon, and I inspired her basically. So it's always nice to hear these things. And as teachers, I'm sure you all have these kinds of emails. One of the great things about our job is that, okay, we don't get paid a lot. It is a difficult job, but unlike working in a bank where you don't hear from people after you deal with them, we hear from our students many years after we've touched upon their lives, etc. So I actually, one of my strategies is that I have a folder in my email. Anytime I receive a really nice email like this, I put it in a folder which is entitled Accolades. And then when I receive a hateful email, because of course you're going to receive hateful emails, mean emails. So when I receive one of those mean ones, I go to my accolades folder. I read through some of the nice things that, people say about you. You're an inspiration, you're amazing, blah, blah, blah. I read through my accolades folder until I feel better about that hateful email. And you think that is so simple, but it actually works. So I encourage you to start your own accolades folder in your email. Lesson 7 for me is about integrity. And this is fundamental, I think, and it's fundamental building block of leadership because without it, you simply cannot lead. And this was one of the reasons, probably the biggest reason why I left formal leadership positions early on in my career, because I could not say that, this is what we should be doing with the testing program because I knew it was wrong. I knew it was the exact opposite of best practice in the profession. And I just couldn't be a kind of a yes man or a yes woman any longer. So think about integrity and, like it's never a good thing. Not that we won't have situations like this because in 30 years of association leadership, have I encountered some shady people on the executive council or in leadership positions? Of course I have. That's kind of life, basically. But thinking about your own integrity is critical. Lesson 8 for me is to invest time in the little things, like greeting people. Why? Because these practices show people that you care about them and you are empathetic. Now, for me, this is a difficult one because one of my, I don't know, shall I say yes, one of my biggest weaknesses, especially with students, is that I have difficulty remembering everybody's name. And it's not because I'm old. I had this trouble 30 years ago. So it's not, I can use, okay, I'm getting older. But, students from 30 years ago remember that I only remember names of students if they were fantastic or if they were really a big pain. So having little things like greeting people is important. One of the things I like to do when I go to a conference is I like to get my picture with lots of people. These are the kinds of memories I like. Showing that you care and are empathetic is important. Lesson 9 for me, I like this one. You have to walk the deck to know the state of the ship. And I think part of my success within TESOL Arabia is that I didn't just show up and say, "Hey, I want to be president." I started as my first position was executive secretary. Then I moved into being a SIG chair. Then was program chair for the conference. So I worked my way up, knowing all the positions on the council and on the conference committee. And now I'm doing the same thing with Toastmasters as well, because you really have to know about the association in order to lead it effectively. Lesson 10 for me is lead by example and be willing to go the extra mile. This is one way to show your followers or your fellow volunteers and it helps you build respect from others. I think this has been an important lesson for me and one that for example, I often get my students involved in conference organization and within Toastmasters. And I don't just send my students to the Toastmaster meeting and say, "Hey, see you tomorrow." I go with them. I participate in the meeting. They evaluate me. I evaluate them. So they like it when you go the extra mile. And you'll find that, especially if you're in the higher role, rolling up your sleeves, stuffing the conference bags along with all of the volunteers is important. Lesson 11. Leadership takes energy as you are always on. In fact, I was just thinking this morning, it's been 1 week since the TESOL Arabia conference, and I haven't made a post on social media. One of the things I really want to be better at is personal branding. But you know how it is when you get through a big conference and you're the organizer, especially you have all these things like you say, okay, after you give everybody excuses after TESOL Arabia, after TESOL, or whatever it is you're preparing for. Well, Monday was after TESOL Arabia. So I had all the other stuff that I put off before to catch up on. So it's really important to keep your energy levels high. Leadership is challenging and thankless at times, but it's also at the same time rewarding and fulfilling. So I'm sure you can give me examples where it's very challenging, thankless, etc. But you only remember the good stuff after the event. One of the sayings I really like is listen more than you speak. And we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. So it's important that you listen to what people are saying and what they are not saying. So one of the biggest lessons I learned is that I would kind of block out the negativity and the doom and gloomers, basically, and only focus on the positive. But we never really improve unless we listen to all types of feedback. Lesson 14, set a high bar, but don't expect that everyone is going to live up to it. Another of my big time life lessons, as well as association leadership lessons. I often hold high standards for everybody, doesn't matter who they are, students, my colleagues, etc. But you can't only one of the things I learned as convention chair, we had a big training, and I learned that only about 10% of any given profession uh, joins a professional association. So already, because we're TESOLers, we're already kind of a small minority of those who kind of go that extra mile and look for our development through our professional associations. So, like I have said, and I do continue to say how much of an impact my work with TESOL Arabia and then TESOL International has had on my professional journey. But even though you say this is going to change your life as it has mine, doesn't mean people are going to run out and join a professional association, work at night, work on weekends. So don't expect everyone to live up to the standards you set or to have the same kind of work ethic that you have yourself. Be open to and receptive to feedback, and that means all feedback, not just the good stuff. Share your and your team's successes. I think this is so important. And oftentimes when I have been reading everybody's posts from our conference last weekend, and it's almost like I couldn't have said it better myself. So many people have echoed the same sentiments that I have about things. So I feel that this award as well, timely as it was a good way to bring everybody together, especially since many of the recipients of the 30 at 30 hadn't been back to the conference since a pre-pandemic time. So hopefully we've all got this renewed community spirit now, and we'll be bringing some of our former leaders back into the fold, and of course, setting the example for new teachers coming into the field as well. Lesson 17 for me is important. Learning to lead not just with your instinct, but having the data that you need. I'm very research informed and research based. In fact, and I can't think of anything I do in the classroom or really in life. I don't use what the research tells me to inform my decisions, especially those that are important. So make sure you use data to make decisions, but also make sure you use the right data. Lesson 18 for me is about self-awareness. This is a key skill in many, many things. Strengths are just as important as your glaring weaknesses. I've done a lot of work in personal and professional strategic planning, and three of the most famous self-awareness types of activities are really old. There's the dreaded SWOT analysis, which we all know, a very good exercise. The Myers-Briggs Trait Inventory. And one of the good things I use this MBTI with, that's a controversial test, I know, but in terms of its correlation with your leadership abilities is at least it describes me like a T. And you take the test and it tells you, first of all, what your four-letter profile is, but it also tells you what your strengths are based on your profile as a leader and what your weaknesses could potentially be. One of the most useful things I've used it for is with students, and oftentimes you understand why you don't get along with certain students because it turns out they are your exact polar opposite. The same could be true with, members of your board of directors as well. So an interesting exercise. If any of you want the online version, it's not the genuine one, but it's an online version, which correlates very well with I've taken the real one and the online version. Email me and I will send you the booklet where this link is in. And, if you've got some time at your next meeting, have your whole board take this test and see where everybody falls in terms of their personality index. The Johari window is another activity that can be useful for gauging self-awareness. And of course, I never really find lots of advantages to being old, but one of the advantages to being old is that you simply have been around longer, you know yourself better. So the older members of your board are going to have higher self-awareness than your younger members. Lesson 19 is knowing what people want from their leaders is a critical perspective. So from the Gallup poll, these are the 4 most important characteristics, I guess, that describe what people want from their leaders. They want to be able to trust you. They want you to have compassion, to give a sense of stability, and of course, hope. Hope for the present and of course for the future. Lesson 20, take care of the people around you always. Eat last, sleep last, but wake up first. Now, having said all this, lesson 21, but don't forget to take care of yourself as well. I know this by some miracle this week I had 2 big events the last 2 weekends, but after the TESOL Arabia conference, I spent 3 nights. This has never happened to me, where I came home and I did not open my computer. This is like a miracle. I don't know if you can relate to that, but I rested, I got to bed early, and I feel that I'm kind of coming out of all the hard work that we did and enjoying our best efforts. Lesson 22, praise abundantly and share credit with others. Don't you hate it when people kind of hog all the credit for themselves and kind of don't give credit where credit is due? So I think if there's any time to do this, it's important to thank everybody who helped you get where you are and helped you stay there. Lesson 23, expect to learn as much from bad or toxic leaders as you learn from the great ones. Now, I wish we had more time because I'd all ask you to name and shame a toxic leader that you've had in your life, to not name them, but to name what you kind of learned from them. But learning what not to do in a leadership position is, I feel, just as important, if not more so, than learning what to do, how to pattern your behavior. Lesson 24, a good leader is not a one-hit wonder. So ask yourself, what have you done lately? Don't rest on your laurels. I just read a very interesting book called Mojo. I don't know if you're familiar with, is it William Goldsmith and the Mojo? Yeah, Mojo is basically, and one of his things is your achievements are important in life, but ask yourself, and you do an exercise through this book about what are your achievements. And you list all of your achievements. Then Goldsmith asks you to go back and look at the ones that are recent and to look at the ones that are only you, not where other people are involved. So it's a very interesting take on, what you think are your achievements and what is actually yours alone. So I think, don't rest on your laurels from the one conference presentation you gave in 2013. I once was asked to write a reference letter for a teacher in my department, and literally all he had on his CV was one conference presentation from 2013. And for me, that it's doing a conference presentation is one of the easiest things you can do. It's not like writing a book or an article or holding a leadership position. So it's important that you don't just rest on, that one thing you did 20 some odd years ago. And hopefully that's going to get you through. True achievement, I think, is a continual. One of my favorite sayings is a Henry Ford saying, the best never rest. And I feel if you want to be not just a good leader, but a great one, you need to be continually having achievements and helping people, lifting as you climb, helping others get to where they want to be and helping yourself as well. Lesson 25, work to improve morale and be positive even if you're not. This is one of the hardest things, bringing everybody else's morale up when you might be feeling stressed out and decidedly negative along with them. Don't neglect your own personal and professional development. I feel it's really important to invest in yourself. I got a big surprise by my institution this year in that I was denied funding to go to TESOL, despite having 8 accepted presentations, 2 of which are featured. So I thought, well, I got to practice what I preach. For me, I've always paid to go to TESOL, and believe me, it's kind of almost a month's salary to get yourself, especially for some reason, Salt Lake City, go figure, is really, really expensive to fly to. Not sure what's up with that, but I'm going to be investing in myself, using some of my precious vacation time to go to Salt Lake City in, I don't know, a little bit over a month's time. So don't neglect your own development in the quest to provide others with theirs. Lesson 27, it's a fact of life that you're not doing your job correctly if you don't have haters. So expect to have haters, but don't let them bring you down. And be worried if you don't have haters, because that means I think you don't really matter. So expect to have haters. Lesson 28, again, another important lesson I learned really early on in my leadership journey. No matter how nice, how empathetic, how fair and flexible you are, not everyone is going to like you. I'm a type of person, I like to be liked by everyone. In fact, when I just the other day, I was thinking about, I don't think this person likes me. But then I thought to myself, what is not to like? And I really meant that. But at the end of the day, some people are just not going to like you. This goes with students as well. Lesson 29 is get buy-in from your team, because they're the ones who help you achieve your goals. Don't just engage with a select few, try to involve all. Now, I would also say if you take on a big leadership position, like chair of a professional council, or even president or a board member of TESOL International or your affiliate, you need to get buy-in not only from the people you work with, but also from your family, because you're gonna, when you and I don't know if it's still like this, but when you run for the TESOL board, and especially for president, you kind of have to commit to a certain number of hours that you will spend doing the job, in addition to your own job that you get paid for. And, in order to do that, summers are especially, or were especially busy, which was the only time I had to spend with my family, being as that I was abroad and they were in the States. So I basically had to say, hey guys, I got to go here, here, and here as part of my TESOL presidential duties. Why don't you come with me? And they kind of lived my presidency through me. I was lucky that I could afford to do that, but it's really important to get buy-in from your family members as well. So my final lesson is that every day I feel is an opportunity for a leadership learning opportunity or lesson. So there you have it, my 30 lessons. And I can think of even 5 more that I would probably add, but my time is slowly going away. So I want to share with you my wish list. Okay. I feel that for me, one of the things that the research says about time management is that even the most productive um, people in life, in all walks of life, have issues with time management. Now, I feel that I use my time well, but I have a couple of what are they called? Time blasters, basically. Like I can't say, one of my big issues that I can't say no to anything that sounds interesting. So all these publications that are now coming due that I said, "Oh, that looks interesting. Yeah, I'm going to write that." Well, now it's time to start writing. So sometimes I feel I need to go back and reacquaint myself with the basics of time management to get a hold of my time a bit better. Technology is always an issue. I have all these dreams of becoming techie, but for me, I'm so busy going from one activity to the next. I never have time to sit and learn an app. I have this list of AI apps I want to play around with, but I never have playing around with technology time built into my schedule. Also, know when to take on projects, but also to divest yourself of certain things. A key thing that happened to me this past year, okay, here's another interesting happening. For almost 10 years, I edited a section of a journal. I'm not going to say the name of the journal. Uh, However, I spent a lot, and it was 15 articles, 50, yeah, 60 articles a year that I organized. And we had at any given time 200 articles in the queue for editing. So one of my editors emailed me at the last TESOL and said, "Did you know that you're no longer the editor of this journal?" And I said, "No. In fact, I just handed in another issue for summer." And so I went to the website because I don't often check websites to see if I'm still, there. And sure enough, someone else was listed as editor. So I wrote to the managing editor and I thought, this is interesting. Why are you accepting whole issues of this journal from me when I'm no longer the editor? And he said, "Well, sorry, we thought somebody told you." And I said, "No." So I was angry at first, but I had been trying to step down for a couple of years, but nobody would take it on, so I stayed. So I handed it all over, and you know what? After I divested myself of the handover of that huge job, I was able to focus much more on my own development and further projects. So sometimes you have to know when to take something on, but also when to stop doing something. Another personal area that I want to learn more about is personal and professional branding. In fact, I'm terrible when it comes to things like someone will take a picture and I get lazy when I'm at events and I say, "Oh, send me that picture." That way I know who they are, basically, and I don't have to do it myself. But at the end of the day, here I am a week later, and I haven't made a post about TESOL conferences last weekend, but it's on my agenda first thing tomorrow morning. Also, develop a radar for things that might interfere with projects you're already involved in. And for God's sake, learn how to say no. Don't be like me. So that's my wish list, that things that I wish or I hope I'm going to be able to get better with or learn more about. And finally, there's my email address. If any of you would like this presentation or anything at all, you have only to email me.
Christine, thank you so much for this presentation.
Thank you for inviting me.
I think these were lessons that we all need to learn. Our time is short, but I want to open the discussion up for any questions. Does anyone have a question or a comment for Christine? Anyone have a question or a comment for Christine? You can also type in the chat. Christine, I do have a question for you. You mentioned that you didn't feel heard when you first began your teaching in the Gulf after getting your degree. And I'm wondering if you think it was an issue of hierarchy or being a newcomer or being a foreigner, or if it was a gender related issue for women in the Gulf, or all of the above. What reflections might you have on ways to overcome these innate things that we can't change about ourselves or the system that we find ourselves in?
Well, I think it was kind of all of the above. Although I would attend these meetings with all males held in Arabic, and my presence was needed there for some reason, but I was never referred to, looked at, or listened to. But I decided that politically, that things were going to happen as they were going to happen. But I thought, what will I do in order to um, enforce, not enforce, but to make an impact on assessment practices. And Karen, that really started my whole career because I joined TESOL Arabia. I founded the TESOL Arabia Testing Special Interest Group, and we held 16 conferences, CTELT conferences. It became a huge thing. We published books. So I felt that that was the way to make an impact, to go down to the grassroots level, basically. And I have to say that my colleague and I from Zayed University, Peter Davidson, we made a tremendous impact on testing practice that exists until this day by doing it that way. And I felt that was the right direction. And to make that decision and to have it go right from the very first, like 2 months after I got a PhD. I mean, I would never have had that opportunity in the West, a young person just post PhD to be put in charge of a huge testing program. So I'm thankful for that opportunity, but I'm also thankful that that happened because that kind of shaped the rest of my career trajectory as well.
Thanks, Christine. Yes,
But remember here, it's not the place where you can advocate and make a big deal out of something because your job will be short-lived. So you have to find ways in order to navigate the system while keeping, the kids in school, that kind of thing. So we don't kind of have the luxury that you all do in the US to protest and advocate for certain things. You got to do it in a lesser, a more roundabout way to make yourself heard.
Yeah, this idea of teaming up with a partner, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful takeaway. We have a question
Mm-hmm.
from Boris, and I think this will
Mm-hmm.
have to be our last question because we want to make sure to give a short break before our first panel. Boris in the chat asks, what is the number one advice for a novice teacher who's just entering teaching and research, especially now that we have AI and online communities of practice? What might you
Mm.
suggest, Christine?
Well, I think that the number one thing is, first of all, there are groups of people, cliques of people, teachers who are the doom and gloomers, the ones who are always complaining. So identify who those groups are and like avoid them. There's that research as well that you become like the five people you spend the most time with. So identify who you want to be like. If you want to publish and do research, hang around or, try to be mentored by people who do that, basically. So that's one thing. And, the whole AI thing, most of the day today, I spent editing chapters for a book that I'm co-editing with a colleague. And literally, I know they're written with AI, and what can you do? Literally a paper that was one list after another of AI generated stuff. And it clearly says in the, I realize that it's tempting to like cut your work literally not even in half, 10% basically to have AI do the work for you. But at the end of the day, publishers are using AI detection software. In fact, I just submitted a book and the book is held up for 6 months because one of the chapters got an 83% match with AI. So you tell people, if you come back high on a match, which is done right pre-publication, it'll be rejected. So, and still they don't listen. They think the rule, nobody will catch me. The rules don't apply to me. Well, they will. And okay, you can say, well, the AI detection software has a lot of false positives, but at the end of the day, that this is what publishers are using. So, try not to use AI. And I'm even hearing one of the things I heard at the conference is that even if you use AI like Grammarly to touch up your grammar and to shave words off of something, that even hits, even though you wrote it originally. So we have to be very, very careful. One day, maybe not today, but a couple of years from now, there will be, a boom in the profession where, whole journals will be, discredited for being AI produced scholarship. Sorry, that's leaving on a negative tone. So hang with
Oh,
people that you want to be like and that are motivational and that don't sit around the lunchroom complaining all the time. That's my number one advice.
Christine, I think the AI topic will give us a segue to our first panel. So,
And I have to go to a Toastmaster meeting now, so
right.
I'm gonna miss the AI one. So I hope to be back after as soon as my other meeting finishes, okay?
All right,
All
sounds
right.
good. Christine,
All the
thank
best,
you so
everyone.
much. All right,
Okay.
we'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye now. Bye.
So, what we'll do right now before we transition into our first panel is we'll take a little bit of a break. We're running a little bit late. Let's take a 10-minute break. You don't need to log off, you can stay on. Just turn off your screen. Go ahead and take a little break, and we'll come back at about 5 minutes after the hour. So, I'm looking forward to seeing you in about 10 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started with our first panel of the evening, which is going to be on the topic of AI and leadership. We have three participants that we were intending to be on the panel. First of all, Dr. Samir Omara. Secondly, Dr. Fayaz Malik. And third, Dr. Himdad Mohammed. At the moment, I don't believe Doctors Malik and Mohammed have been able to log in. Dr. Omara is here. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about some of the concerns that I know that all of us have around AI. For many of us, AI is both a blessing and a curse, especially for those of us who are not native speakers. We know how helpful it is to have that extra assistance. But at the same time, we know that in our teaching, a lot of our students are using AI for purposes that we perhaps wish they would not. We are also grappling with how to use it effectively in terms of our own leadership, either working with students who will become teachers or using it for our own professional needs. So what I'd like to do for the next 45 minutes or so is to lead us through a series of questions. Because some of our panelists are not here, I think we're also going to open the discussion up to those of you who are participating in our webinar tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the issues related to the use, the responsible use of AI, and also helping our colleagues learn about this new frontier. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, Samir, are you with us? Okay, I think we have lost Samir. Okay, I think Samir is not with us. So let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to pose a question that I would encourage any of you on this call to respond to. And oh, there you are. Okay, Samir, thank you. Glad you're here. So let me go ahead and offer this first question. Samir, can you tell us, first of all, a little bit more about who you are, where you are, and what you do professionally? And then can I ask you to tell us a little bit more about how you have been navigating AI in your specific context, particularly, first of all, with any official statements that you or your university may have about using AI. Give us a little bit of an introduction and tell us a bit more about yourself.
Okay. I'm Samir Amara. I'm an English language teacher and teacher trainer. I have been working for a long time for public schools, public language schools, STEM schools, and currently applied technology schools in Egypt related to the Ministry of Education and Technical Education. I have developed my post-university. This is the local university where I live, and American University in Cairo, both in person and online. I have taken part in conferences and events in Egypt, such as Nile TESOL and ILAs, and in the United Kingdom, such as Bit Show. And in the United States, I attended and presented at TESOL Chicago in 2018. Currently, I teach English, both general English and technical English at We Applied Technology School in Monofia. This is a co-project between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. Part of my teaching is related to artificial intelligence because my students, this is a high school for students who are aged 15 to 18 years old. And this school helps students in the first years, they study general introduction about ICT. And later on year 2 or secondary year 2 and 3, they decide on having specializations including digital arts, telecommunications, programming, and artificial intelligence. So uh, um, my school is part of its mission is to prepare students for working with AI. So I'm on helping more teachers and AI functionally, ethically, is how to use it functionally. As teachers use AI for lesson planning, use AI for learning functionally, not to depend on AI to plan the lessons instead of doing some human input or human activity into thinking about the student, their learning needs, different things related to the profession of teaching, including lesson planning, the delivery of lessons, the reflection on how we deliver these lessons and how we adapt, how we teach these lessons. At the same time, we need to help our students, the learners, the new generations of learners everywhere, not Egypt, but all over the world, how to use AI functionally, not to depend on ChatGPT, Gemini, to get some responses for certain questions, or to use other AI to
I'm sorry, Samir, we're having some problems hearing you.
generate articles, essays, or PowerPoint presentations to the goal. AI is just students learn how to use the AI inside them. Yes, Association since 20, Special Interest Groups Chair, the President in the coronavirus pandemic. And in 2022, I was the past president. So far, I am a co-chair or a coordinator of the Testing, Evaluation, and Assessment Special Interest Group for Nile TESOL. I do online and in-person volunteer teacher training in my government or province, which is to the north of Cairo, 70 kilometers to the north of Cairo, and I do this online. So I have some experiences in teacher association leadership and teacher training and professional development as well. In part of my life, was the head of professional development for Teachers First Egypt, which was a national teacher training program that started in 2016 and ended in 2020 because of the pandemic.
Samir, thank you. I think we can relate to so much of what you've said about, encouraging our students to use AI as a tool. But my question for you, and I would open this up as well to anyone who is participating on the call, is it's one thing to be prescriptive and say, don't do this. But my question, and I think the question that a lot of us are concerned about, is how do we help students to use it responsibly? Rather than saying, don't do this or only use it as a tool, that's not really being as specific as we might be able to be. So I'm wondering, what are some of you doing specifically to tell your students how to use AI rather than how not to use it? Can we maybe expand the conversation a little bit in that direction? How do we help students and our teachers in training to use AI as a tool? You're welcome to speak or write your comments in the chat box if you'd like.
So I think that with the current generation, we cannot give theoretical knowledge to students on you should do this and you shouldn't do this with AI. But we need to get them engaged in practical and hands-on activities that help them use AI as a tool. For me, for example, I help my students get engaged in similar activities. For example, I ask them to, in case they have a text, I ask them to change the text into parts or audio parts using one of the AI tools called 11 Labs. When I ask them to do this, I ask them to change some chunks which are in their school books to change them into, for example, American English audio, British English audio. Please change this into an audio which is said by a man, which is said by a woman, which is said by a young person, an old person, and so on. When I ask them to do this, I ask them to mention the tool and to say how and when and why you used the tool. So I encourage them or give clear instructions on how to use the tool. I give examples. I help them learn that this is just a tool. It's going to make the learning easier and it's not going to learn instead of you. I engage my students in some kind of reflective sessions on useful. How would you like to actively take of learning using AI in a way? It's a matter of practicing this. And when I myself use AI for teaching them, when I depend on a certain tool, I mention that I used this tool, and you can refer to this tool and use this in a certain way. So I give them a role model, the teacher. When I depend on AI, I mention the tool. When I ask them to use the tool, I ask them to reflect on how, when, and why they use the tool. Instead of only asking ChatGPT or Gemini to answer the questions. I think that hands-on learning activities and experiences will help our students use AI functionally and ethically. I know that there might be some violations at the very beginning because some lazy students or some struggling students might depend on AI completely. But I think as we go step by step, bit by bit, I think we will help our students acquire how and when and why they use AI functionally and ethically.
Samir, we lost the audio with you for a moment, and I wasn't clear on one of the AI tools that you're using with your students. Could you possibly type that in the chat for us? Because this
Yes,
may be a new
yes,
tool for some of us to learn about and use.
yes. It's called 11 Labs. It helps
Got
change
it.
the text into audio.
Got it. 11 labs. So I think
Yes.
what we're hearing,
Just an example.
yeah, just one example of an AI tool. We're hearing already hands-on experience and reflection are integral parts of this process of teaching students and helping them not just use it, but also reflect on the use and how it's impacting their understanding. And it sounds like as
Yes,
well, this 11 Labs has the ability to turn text into American accented or British accented English to give students a little experience with growing a comfort level with listening to different accents in English. Very good. We have some comments in the chat. And Boris asks you,
yes.
Samir, is it more about having AI as a partner rather than using all of these tools, or what is the framework to turn to so that the irreplaceable role of educator is cherished? I think this is a brilliant question because I think the ultimate question could be, is AI going to farm us out of our jobs, right? I mean, I think that's a concern that so many of us are thinking about, at least. Will we be replaced as teachers by AI? So, Samir, do you have any thoughts on Boris's question?
I think that we as educators and novice educators who are coming to join this job very soon, we need to help them learn how to use AI as part of their job, because we would like to avoid the time that might come when AI replaces the teachers. So I think that student teachers who are currently studying at schools of education and who are practicing their practicum to start their jobs in a year or 2 years to come, there could be AI parts included in the methodology they have been trained on. And when they come to the practicum in school, they need to have some parts related to AI use in schools, because we cannot ignore the fact that AI is part of our modern life, and AI is part of teaching and teaching, learning, and assessment. So for schools of education, there should be some updates or some shifts on how those student teachers are prepared, especially related to AI. So this is an important part. And another part related to leadership, as long as it's the duty of the schools of education to prepare teachers to use
Samir, I'm sorry we've lost your audio again. So what I'd like to do is
novice teachers
Jermaine.
and even experienced teachers to do that shift related to how to.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry we're having some difficulty with Samir's audio. Jermaine, you've posted a number of
Use
things.
AI for teaching. This is to avoid the time when AI replaces duty for the.
Hey Karen, what's going on? How are you? What's going on?
Hi, we're having some issues with Samir's audio. Jermaine, I'm wondering
Sure.
if we can invite you to share a little bit about what you've posted in the chat box. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you are specifically using AI with your students and giving them directions? And while we're listening, I'm wondering if I can ask all of us on the call to share with us what AI tools are you using in your classroom?
Mhm.
Tell us what you're doing
Super.
so we can learn a little bit from each other.
Yeah, yeah,
Jermaine.
sure. Just really quick. Hey, I hope everyone's doing well. I have also had some connection issues over here in Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia. I'm not sure what's going on today, but anyways, here I am. I was able to make it a reality. Talking about, I should say, artificial intelligence in terms of English language teaching, there are lots of things that we can do in terms of transformative potential, and also the ethical considerations that we should, I should say, embrace as we are working on bilingual and multilingual educational settings. For starters, well, there are many different apps and things of nature that we can talk about. My goal is not to focus on just one app, but my goal is to talk about the things that we can do with those different apps. For example, intelligent tutoring systems. When we talk about tutoring, is a great deal. It's an awesome opportunity with the student and or learner that we're working with that helps to engage, organize, and get them where they need to be. We also talk about some adaptive, what we call feedback mechanisms. Let's think about I have a class or a group of teachers, because I'm a teacher trainer. So I can talk about my students being teachers, but also I can talk about my days at school, where we can do some other things as well. Where I have a workbook, but that workbook is interactive, meaning that we all have the same lesson, we all have the same classes and things of that nature. But the workbook in which I engage in online, it's 100% interactive, but it's also powered by AI. providing me as a student, as an individual, as a teacher, etc., with individual, specialized, personalized feedback, which goes a long way. Yeah. We also talk about how our teachers can harness AI in order to enhance reading, writing, grammar, vocabulary, instruction to customizable, what we call prompts, interactive storytelling, as well as comprehension drills, and even error correction. These are all things that provide us with information that we can do that would help us in order to become much more successful inside the classrooms as in terms of teaching and learning, but also for us as leaders, okay, leaders at teaching associations, we can provide these types of tips and tools for our, I should say, colleagues, for our fellow teachers, so that they can understand how to do. And as reading, what can I do with reading? Well, AI has provided and will continue to provide and help us out along with the prompts. Prompts are very important. I can take a article or newsletter or etc. from USA Today, Washington Journal, Los Angeles Times, okay, El Tiempo here in Bogota, yeah. And I can take that and I can ask the AI, hey, I like the topic. Can you please curate, this particular reading for seventh grade students, for 12-year-olds, students that are at a A1 or A2 or A3, I mean, A2, B1 level. Can you highlight, keywords and vocabulary and concepts that I need to work on? And can you please provide me with a quiz, a reading exercise, as well as, speaking activity at the end of the day? Thank you. And so you can get it done. We talk about writing. The list is long about the opportunity in terms of how we can adjust and organize things with writing. Vocabulary is the same. Like I said again, not to spend out too much, but just to give you some ideas about, regardless of the application that we use, because I have used in my research over the last few years, I have used about 6 to 7 apps. Different. There are some similarities, tons, but there are just quite a few differences, not much. But I think the key in everything that we do when we're using incorporating AI in terms of leadership, I can ask AI to help me with budgets. Hey, would you be able to scan the numbers and figure what's the best route to take in terms of this proposal, this proposal, or this proposal? As a TESOL leader myself, I receive tons of information. I also have, I should say, activities and conferences to organize and workshops. But like I said again, AI has provided us, the association TESOL Colombia, with different types of, I should say, rules, guidelines, and opportunities for us to advance a lot faster. So I would say at the end of the day, Karen, if you would allow me, as well as Samir, AI is a very powerful tool, and it's about us providing, I should say, that particular operator in that particular platform with the prompts needed in order for us to move forward. Karen, if you would allow me, I would be more than happy, not at the moment because time doesn't allow us right now, but the ones that are connected today with prompts for teacher training, prompts for education, prompts for overall classroom activities, prompts for administrative type activities that I already have developed and I've done because I've been using these types of tools for years now. For years, it just didn't happen overnight, but I've been doing for some time, and thank God I have an opportunity to I don't know, to advance a bit more than others. And so I have seen AI as a teacher, as a researcher, as an administrator, and as a TESOL leader in terms of organization and things of that nature. So from things from finance to you know how to create a lesson plan, expanding 4 or 5 countries with budgets, etc., giving me the best opportunity to move forward. So with that in mind, like I said again, Karen, if you would allow me later on, I would be more than happy to provide my templates that I have that I use with other teacher training platforms and things of that nature so that the rest of the ANPC community can also benefit from the same thing. Sorry to take so much time. Apologize.
No, no apology needed, Jermaine. I think that was really helpful to hear from you. And I think we'd all be very, very happy to see what sorts of tools and prompts you're using. I love what I'm seeing, some of the contributions in the chat. Hala is using
Super.
ChatGPT, Gemini, and also trying out DeepSeek. Gamma for slides. I'm not familiar with Gamma, so thank you for introducing me to that. Um, and
It's good. It's like I've used it a couple of times. It's pretty interesting.
Great, great. One of the things that
Super.
we've become painfully aware of in our work on the ANPC is that many of our affiliates around the world are struggling financially. And I think something that we've been concerned about is how can we help struggling affiliates come up with a plan to increase their finances. And certainly AI would be one wonderful way, to put in a prompt, how can um, how can I work on fundraising for my nonprofit
Mhm.
organization? What are some tips from other nonprofit organizations for fundraising efforts? So that's just something that immediately comes to mind in terms of AI and leadership. All of us are leaders within our specific affiliates. What can we do to increase some of our fundraising efforts? So that would certainly be another great use in terms of behind the scenes leadership. And Marianella shares AI is really useful when designing activities. It can help you better cater to your students' needs, right? That customizable ability to give students just what they need at the level at which they are currently in their learning in their English. Um, and Marianelli, you've been using Canva a lot as well, and its AI component. And our colleague Be Smart, love that moniker, is using ChatGPT for forming questions and vocabulary exercises, right? Some really, really great ways to help us. Very, very good. Let's see. Does anyone have any comments that they would like to verbally share with us in terms of how they are currently navigating using AI, either ethical issues or specific ways that you are conveying to your students what is and is not acceptable in AI use? Anyone want to share? Samira, go ahead.
I had my hand up. I don't know if you saw it, Karen.
Yeah,
Mr.
go
Okan,
ahead. Sorry,
go
Okan,
for
I
it, my
didn't see that.
friend.
Okan, go ahead. We're
Okay,
having difficulty with Samir's connection. Go ahead,
I'm
Okan.
just going to go the opposite direction because, Karen, at the beginning you mentioned that AI can be a blessing or a curse. Some people see it as a new oxygen in the language classroom, but I see it as carbon monoxide. So I've been reading about the negative effects of using AI with our learners because it's not allowing them to develop their critical thinking skills. There are some studies that have actually been conducted, but not extensively, showing that the more learners lean towards AI, the less their critical thinking skills will be. And one of these was by Anthony, 2025. He talked about AI causing anxiety to the learners, not because of the language itself, not the English, but the fear of the tool itself, hesitation and fear. And he also concluded that it led to atrophy of critical thinking skills because the more we upload our cognitive activities to AI tools, the more the critical thinking skills will degenerate. And there's another study, MIT study by MENA that talked about AI making you to be stupider, that your cognitive ability or cognitive activity is scaled down in relation to the external tool used. In other words, the more capable the tool that you are using, the less your cognitive activity will be. So we teachers are in a hurry to keep upgrading and move to the next level, the next version, the next premium level. And so the more these tools are able to help teachers or learners do their task in the classroom, I think in the long term, in the long run, the learners will be worse off. That's what the research was trying to say. And Talking about cognitive load, as teachers in the classroom, we have the intrinsic cognitive load, we have the strenuous cognitive load, and the germane cognitive load. Not our germane here. And just like cholesterol, we have bad cholesterol and good cholesterol. We have good cognitive load and bad cognitive load. Bad cognitive load, yeah. So the intrinsic cognitive load is about the difficulty of the materials. For example, if you're using Krashen's example, I plus one, if the difficulty level is too high, then the teacher has to manage it very well. It's not just presenting the tools to the learners. They need to know how to use it. And then the information presentation itself with confusing interfaces. Today you are using Gemini, tomorrow you are using Copilot, next day. So learners get confused with having to navigate these things, especially for those of us here in this context. The Arab learners, in Arabic language, everything is going from right to left. When English is going from left to right. So helping the learners to even navigate through these interfaces could also increase their cognitive load. So it is the germane cognitive load that actually leads to good learning. So for us teachers, we need to maximize the good cognitive load, minimize the strenuous cognitive load, and manage the intrinsic one. So this is just a little contribution I want to make to this conversation, but if time permits, I can still say more about the effect of using AI on the learners and how we can mitigate this. If you think about the Danish approach, in Denmark, they've carried out a study that for the past 200 years, each generation has been cognitively more capable than their parents until now that the Gen Z is cognitively less capable than their parents. And then data also shows the impact of screen time on teens' brain. So now they get students to turn up their cell phone, drop their iPads and laptops. Computers are used sparingly and with strict supervision. And this has been found to be successful countrywide. And they even have a national no phone day in Denmark. So I don't know if the pursuit of this AI, whether we'll go the full cycle and come back to the Danish approach, or whether Denmark will be vindicated or vilified in the end. So that's my little bit of I want to add to this conversation.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Okan. I think, we are seeing both sides of this, right? We understand the tool that it is, but at the same time, we are seeing that so many students are just being overwhelmed, be it through social media use or constant screen time. I think many of us are searching for effective ways to keep kids off screens, right? So herein is this conundrum of the incredible power that we have on the one hand, yet on the other hand, the anxiety, the fatigue, the stress that comes with this constant use of technology. Jermaine, I think I saw you had your hand raised. Any comments?
No, I did. I did have my hand raised, and like I said again, I don't want to take up much more time. I know we have a program already set. With Dr. Orcon was that it's about what professionals and how we can
Maybe Jaman can turn off his video and just use audio.
Yeah, too bad we're having some audio issues today with some of our colleagues. Oh, yeah, let's see if that'll help. Jermaine, can you hear us? Oh, we just lost Jermaine. Oh, for goodness sake. Okan, you had some additional comments. Please feel free to share a little bit more with us.
Karen, you mentioned about the struggle that association leaders have in raising fund, which is a real struggle. I know one thing is being able to reach out to benefactors who might be able to maybe give you access to the software, which is fair enough. If the leaders can even get to that point where they can get free access, maybe through one of these Google or Microsoft, but then the hardware itself and then the wattage to run it. Because you think about some context, you have access to the software, but you don't have the computer, you don't have the laptop. Or if you do have the computer, you don't have the connectivity. Like I see, Jermaine is struggling from Colombia, Samir is struggling from Cairo. So these are the struggles we are. So even when we talk about AI, the north-south divide, the global north and the global south, is not just going to be the same. So, which is why, in terms of job security, AI is not going to replace us anytime soon because many teachers who are in the village, they're teaching under the tree, they're never going to lose their job to AI. So that's just the way to look at it. Jaman is back.
You're too kind, my friend. Yeah, like I said again, I do apologize, and I know we need to move forward. I have had some very difficult issues today. I am on two different laptops, and also I am on my tablet, and also two cell phones. Can you imagine? I have got a very strong connection at my house because I work most of the time from my house, but today's not today, and that happens, and I do apologize, and I really do apologize, but I'm doing the best I can to get where we need to be. But just to move forward, like I said again, I think we need to combine ethics in terms of using artificial intelligence with actual, professional development, teaching practices, but also allowing our students to make mistakes and allow our students to understand, what they've got going on in terms of, the good and the bad and the ugly. I have a son. He's 20 years old, one of my sons, and he's a university student in the States. And like I said again, helping him to better understand how life is using technologies between English, Spanish, and the other languages that he uses. But at the end of the day, it's not about copying and pasting. It's about understanding and being aware about how the different tools can make your life a little bit better. And so, as a teacher trainer, as a professional in language teaching, etc., I do my best to help him and anybody else that comes my way in order for them to understand the ethics, the ethical considerations behind, I should say, dealing with. And so, like I said again, I have developed prompts for my son. He's 20 years old. Prompts for him to not really do his homework, but for him to be able to study well, cite the sources properly in APA, an APA, look at different sources in MLA, look for things that needs to get done, and also critique, organize, and review. The list is long. But going back in terms of leaders, because that's why we're here today, leadership. AI has done a great job and can do an even better job in terms of, looking at financials, not the numbers per se, but giving you projections because we have to check everything that you find on the platforms. AI can help us in order for me to look at and trying to figure out, I should say, trends and tendencies in terms of memberships. So, over the last 4 years, I have had this at my conference. What do you expect, things to be like? And it's a big help. Yeah. I can also look at it in terms of, okay, these are textbooks or these are resources that I see that, people are acquiring or not. What do you think, I could or I should offer as AI in terms of leadership roles? Okay. Change the chip leadership roles. They provide me with lots of things. Jermaine, it would be a great idea to offer this textbook or this book because why the tendency has been, and it gives me lots of data. But big data, like I've studied for, provides us with opportunities to do it, to look and see other things that we can do. And the data provides us exactly with AI. It provides us with information so we can make decisions. Remember, anything that you find online, say, if it's between artificial intelligence, it's between our friend Mr. Google or any other source that we find online, it has to be vetted. We have to resource it. We have to look at it. We have to, ensure that things go where they need to be. But it's a tool. A tool. Keep that in mind. It's a tool. Okay, it's not the end all. It's a tool that provides us with information so that we can move forward and make informed decisions as leaders, which is the goal. Informed decisions as leaders. And so if I can just close with that, I'll be done, Karen. Informed decisions as leaders is what AI would provide us, the information, the data that we need to get moved forward. Okay. Thank you for this space. Thank you so much. Sorry to take so much time.
No, no apologies. Thank you, Jermaine. I think, two big takeaways, the idea of making mistakes as being part of learning. That's something that certainly we want to guide those whom we work with to help understand, and in turn to help them help their students understand about how making mistakes is really integral to what we do. And this idea of information, using AI as a tool for making informed decisions, I think that's an important takeaway. And Okan, thank you as well for reminding us of this idea around the negative effects of using AI. So I think we are juggling so much, and in the last 2 years our jobs have changed fundamentally, forever. So thank you so much to everyone. We are now at 48 past the hour, and I want to make sure to give each of us a short break before we come on to our next panel. um, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back at the top of the hour, and our next panel is going to be on the very, very important topic of conflict and leadership. So please go ahead and mute your screen, and also turn off your audio, take a little break, and we'll come back at the top of the hour in just about 11 minutes. All right, thank you. See you in a bit. All right, lovely participants. It is the top of the hour. So we'd like to go ahead and come on back with our second panel. And I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to my colleague, Marwan Abdi, to help guide us through and moderate this next panel. Marwan? Apologies, we know Marwan is also having a little bit of audio difficulties coming to us from Kurdistan region. So our next panel is going to be on the topic of conflict and leadership. We're defining conflict broadly here. For many of us, this is meaning war and political conflict. For some of us, it may mean interpersonal conflicts or conflicts within our specific workplaces. And we have three speakers who are going to join us for this panel. First of all, Dr. Okan, whom you have heard speak a little bit earlier in our first panel. We are really thrilled to have our colleague, Dr. Sergei Petrenko from TESOL, Ukraine, who will be joining us, and Dr. Basma Adek from Nile TESOL. So let me check in and see if we have Marwan back. Marwan, can you hear us? Are you back?
Sure, I'm here back, yeah.
All right, Marwan, we're going to go ahead and turn this next panel over to you to help guide us through our discussion on conflict and leadership.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Marwan, we're having some difficulty hearing you. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and have our colleague.
Okay, sorry.
There you are. Bravo,
Yeah, I'm
bravo.
just here, but honestly, I'm just like I've met and we have coordinated with Ani and from the president of the TESOL Kuwait and Samir Omar. So based on our agreement with German, like I'm going to be responsible for the third panel. If you want, I can just go
Okay.
with the first one, yeah, because German already has coordinated with them, yeah.
Okay, apologies. Jermaine, we'll go ahead and turn things over to you to get the panel rolling. Can we have our panelists each introduce each other? Basma Adek, can you tell us a little bit more about where you're based? Tell us a little bit more about your work.
Sure. Hello from Cairo, Egypt. I'm Basma Adek. And a little bit about me, I have more than 21 years of experience as an educator. Out of that, more than 14 years as a teacher trainer. I have worked in major national and international projects, enhancing the skills of teachers and also doing capacity building, soft skills training for the past, many years. And I have also been privileged to be the Nile TESOL president in 2025. And just a few weeks back, I started my term as Nile TESOL past president. So that's a little bit about me.
All right, thank you so much, Basma. It's a delight to get to meet you. Can we ask Sergei to go ahead and introduce himself? Sergei, tell us a little bit more about where you're from.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Sergey. I'm from Ukraine, and I represent here TESOL Ukraine community. I have been teaching English for more than 20 years when I defended my PhD thesis, and then also I participate in different projects, and I started my TESOL international commitment in 2016, just 10 years ago, when I first went to the conference to Baltimore. And actually, it was a really nice experience from that. And after that, I'm trying to attend TESOL international conventions every year. Unfortunately, because of COVID and then wartime disruption that we have in Ukraine, it wasn't completely it was difficult to do it, but I try to find some kind of ideas and alternatives to share.
Thank you, Sergey. We're glad you're able to join us this evening. Okan, can we ask you to go ahead and reintroduce yourself, especially for folks who may have just tuned in a few minutes ago?
Yeah, talking about the years of experience, giving away our ages, huh? I've been in the classroom. Yeah, I've been in the classroom for 37 years, since 1989. So I might as well just tell you I'm 65. And this is my last year with Qatar University, retiring but not tired. So if you have a job, please tell me. I'm happy to move to any other place that offers a job. I'm also the president-elect of TESOL International Association, the founder of Africa English Language Teachers Association. I've been the president of Qatar TESOL, and I think that's the much I can say now. So I don't know what else I. Thank you for having me.
Well, an early congratulations, Okan. This will be your last hurrah as the leader of the TESOL organization. I'm really,
Awesome.
really excited. All right.
Thank you.
Jermaine, can we go ahead and turn things over to
Sure.
you to moderate?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get situated. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I do apologize for everything, but I'm glad to see everyone here again. I don't think I need to introduce myself for the most part. Jermaine McDougall, the past chair of the ANPC, just getting started. Here with my one of my sons, trying to get them situated to do some other things as well at the moment. Looking for money and doing these things there. But here we are. Today we're going to be talking about conflict and leadership. And conflict and leadership in times of transition. I think it's quite interesting because, well, as each and every one of us are TESOL leaders, we've got a lot of things to do. Basma, it's a pleasure to meet you, personally. Said, hey, well, we've been friends for some time now. We've been friends for some time now, and so it's always good to see you on board, my friend, and things of that nature. And in our particular instance, give me one pause really quick. Give me pause.
Multitasking.
It seems some money is changing hands too.
Multitasking. Professional and family
All right,
responsibility.
sorry about that. I'm giving my son some money. He needs to go do something else. My wife is at another spot, and we're making some changes, and so I apologize. But anyways, like I was saying again, Basma, a pleasure to meet you, my dear. I said, hey, we have been connected for years now, and Okan, well, we're good friends from a while back. So if it's okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the panel. For the most part, we have the three. We've already had a quick introduction, and I think that it's interesting. We have a few questions going on, but if it's okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start. I don't know. Do I have any volunteers? Or I know Dr. Khan, he had some ideas he wanted to express in terms of leadership in times of transition and conflict and things of that nature. If he would like to, I don't know, start. Or would you like me to go ahead and start talking and you can go ahead and organize things a bit later on. You tell me. Because I know you had sent me some things that you wanted to maybe talk about at this particular time, and so I'm not sure if that's okay.
Yes, when we talk about conflict, I think maybe say he will be in a better position to really address that topic because he's in a conflict zone right now. But I was looking at conflict within the leadership structure or conflict between associations. I use Africa ELTA, for example. At the beginning, it was Africa TESOL. My idea was to create it and let the teachers in Africa deal with it. The association was for the teachers, by the teachers, and just like democracy say, government of the people, by the people, for the people. We outside, Amin and I, we felt we should let African teachers run it because they know the struggles they're experiencing every day. In the first year, there was a steering committee. I took myself out, and for the entire year, nothing happened. It was going to die prematurely. So what we did in the second year was to wrestle the leadership structure from them again because nothing happened. So I decided to self-appoint myself as the president. I mean, volunteered as a vice president, and then people volunteer as secretary, PD. That's how we got it up again running. So, I mentioned delegation as one of the things I want to address because when you delegate authority to certain people, if they do not have the skill set, they may not be able to deliver. So it is very important that when you are delegating, you need to also know the person you are delegating to. Another key thing is even as a leader, even if whether you are the president or the chair, whatever you designate yourself as the leader of the association, it mustn't be a one-man show, my way or the highway. Because you think about collective wisdom, not exclusive wisdom. Not one person has an exclusive wisdom to how things should be done. So when you cross-fertilize ideas, that's when you'll be able to actually address the problems the association is facing. There are examples of associations where you have one leader sitting there for 10 years. You see the same face every year, same face every year. And for me, if a leader still sits in office for more than 3 years, it's either he doesn't know what he's doing. Because as a leader, you need to grow your leadership pipeline. You must have a succession planning in place because anything can happen. You can drop dead. So if you die, that means the association dies. So a good leader should be able to have people that can succeed. If you're hit by the bus, somebody will step in and the association will have to continue with or without you. So these are some of the things I was talking about. And even as a leader, you may have this wonderful vision. But if you are fixated with your idea, that again could be a problem. Just like I mentioned, collective and exclusive wisdom, fertilization of ideas will bring about a more fertile, create a more fertile ground for the association to grow. So it is very important that when you delegate authority, you create leaders. Then if you want to do it like a one-man show, you end up burning out and then because you don't trust people. And just before I finish this one, there's also top to bottom approach, which may work in some contexts, but not in every context. There is bottom up, which I prefer. Let it come from the membership. Let the ideas come from the membership. How it should be done to come from the membership. Or then maybe in the at the leadership level too, like a lateral structure, not hierarchical, president, secretary, this, and the authority flows in that order. If it's a flat structure, then everybody sees himself as an equal, especially in our profession where we are volunteering our time. Nobody pays us to do anything. So you cannot be bossing people around because you are the president of an association. So that's a little bit I have for now. Back to you, Jermaine.
Okay, my friend. No, thank you so much. No, no,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. You bring up quite a few excellent ideas in terms of I grow leadership by the mind, which I think is very interesting. That also corresponds and connects with, like I said again, using a more of a bottom up approach in terms of how we can deal with, organize, and manage the different things that we got going on right now. Yeah, you also mentioned collective as well as exclusive wisdom. Because like I said again, we work for institutions, yeah, across the globe. And as a part of these institutions, we have to be able to, how should I say, organize ourselves as well as be responsible enough to collect that information, organize that information, but put it together so that we are all, connected together in order to make informed decisions and things of that nature. So, like I said again, challenges that we have, like I understand, Dr. Okan, lots of things going on, and I am sure that we're going to get there. But let me give you some ideas about some other things as well, and thank you so much. So my next questions, da-da-da-da. Okay, my next question, if we have any questions in the chat box, please let me know. Karen, I'm only working on one screen today. I usually have three, but I've got one today. Sorry, and my tablet on another side, which is almost the same exact screen, but it's all good. Give me some. My next question is going to go out to the other remaining panelists and give me some ideas about any other team in the region, indicators dealing with displacement, safety risks, psychological trauma, or even resource shortages caused by the regional instability. And keep in mind here, I'm trying to get away from politics, but more about what we do in terms of teacher education, what we do in terms of leadership, what we do in terms of trying to get things together. So, like I said again, um, what are we doing? What strategies are we using in terms of trying to combat the challenges that we have every single day, dealing with displacement, safety risks, psychology, trauma? Because what happens for you, it's happening all over the place. And I live in Bogota, Colombia, South America, and I have the same issues, the same questions that I could also respond to. So, I don't know, say it hey, or I mean, I'm not sure who would like to maybe give it a try.
Yeah, I can continue. And
Thank you, my
actually,
friend.
yeah,
I
you,
can go
you,
to
yeah,
Basma.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, buddy. Good to see
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Great
yeah.
to see
And
you.
I'm really happy to meet here the new TESOL president. And actually, I will be glad to meet you in person at the TESOL
Of
convention
course.
in Salt Lake.
In a
Yeah,
very
right.
short period of
And
time, my friend.
yeah. And as Karen mentioned, we have like different dimensions of leadership, or not leadership, but conflict. And actually, like our aspect is to show that on a more global stage. And actually, Germain, you actually asked that we could create some kind of slides. So I have a couple of slides. If I can, I would like to share them.
Of course, my friend.
Yeah,
Please, please.
something like that. Just I made this to show that
Awesome.
I'm from
Perfect.
TESOL
Thank
Ukraine,
you.
or something like that. Okay. Yeah, so when we talk about leadership in, like you can see, leadership in times of transition. So when we talk about that, we think about some strategic planning, some reforms, structural reforms, some institutional redesign. But in Ukraine, we have like leadership during this time of transition, during this time of conflict and war, has meant something different. It has meant sustaining hope. And even the TESOL Ukraine Convention that we had in 2025, we had Rising Together, Teaching with Strength and Hope. So we had this topic for our convention. So this is protecting professional dignity, and also it has meant keeping teachers connected to each other. Despite the biggest challenges of war that Ukrainian English teachers continue to still Ukrainian teachers continue to teach and learn with hope. They work under conditions, as you mentioned, of trauma, displacement, continuous air raid attacks, power outages. So I'm not sure that I will be disconnected for a couple of minutes because of the power outage. Luckily, I have electricity right now, but maybe in just several seconds I will not. And then I need to use some kind of additional resources to source my Wi-Fi router and some others. Or for example, I have this lamp. In case of something like happens, I can just turn it on. And in this case, I can connect with my students, with teachers, and so on. Right. So I think that you know this image, and you can see our Ukrainian athlete wearing a memory helmet at the Olympic Games, and this image represents something essential about Ukrainian resilience. Even on the world's most competitive stage, he carried memory with him. He didn't separate performance from identity. He didn't leave his country's story behind in order to compete. He even refused to compete in this kind of way. And in many ways, Ukrainian teachers are doing the same. They continue teaching, researching, presenting, innovating, while carrying the weight of memory, losses of their loved ones, of their children, parents, friends, and so on, displacement, trauma, responsibility, and so on. Like these athletes, they move forward by not forgetting, but by remembering with dignity. Leadership in our context means creating space where memory and professional development coexist. So before the full-scale invasion, our leadership priorities were similar to those of many professional associations, like organizing conferences, growing membership, expanding various courses. War changed everything. Suddenly, leadership was no longer about event coordination, but it became about emotional support, continuity, flexibility, and presence for all the teachers. Teachers were not asking, like, what is the next conference topic? They were asking, how do I teach during air raid? How do I teach during power outages? How do I continue when I'm exhausted myself? And our answers were simple: just stay connected. Shared resilience became our foundation, and we shifted toward shorter planning cycles because it was really difficult to plan for long-term perspective. We had to do something just right now because we don't know what will happen tomorrow. Then we moved to different hybrid formats, informal online meetings, and also mentoring conversations. This is the example from our TESOL Ukraine convention. It was attended, the topic was, as I mentioned, Rising Together, Teaching with Hope and Strength, and it was attended by around 300 Ukrainian teachers of English without external funding. Many of them paid for themselves for their travel accommodation and accommodation costs. And also you can see some kind of feedback from the participant that it doesn't matter that we had to pay, but the chance to learn from each other and feel part of this community is priceless. That statement captures the essence of our resilience, and to sit together, for example, to exchange ideas, to feel to feel intellectually alive. This was restorative experience for that. And professional belonging is a necessity during the wartime, and that we are trying to keep within the leadership of our TESOL association. Another thing, or equally transformative, has been our mentorship program that we launched actually in late 2024. The pilot was in 2025, and now we are going we are having this 6-month initiative, and now we are experiencing the third 6-month initiative. So the parents, this initiative pairs experienced teachers with early career colleagues for guidance, reflection, collaborative projects. Mentors provide feedback on lesson planning, support, goal setting, share strategies for addressing classroom challenges, including, because it's really necessary, trauma-sensitive teaching, social emotional learning, holistic education, and so on. We this time, together with my colleagues, we will be representing some ideas from these mentorship. Last year, we represented it like our pilot course on TESOL International Convention. This year, we were invited to AAA conference, a ELF conference, and like on applied linguistics. And actually, we will tell about the mentees report some increased confidence, reduced professional isolation. Mentors report renewed purpose and leadership development in that. In this way, so for example, it moves us from centralized leadership to some kind of relational or distributed leadership or shared leadership. We are now working like institutionalizing this program, mentorship program, and potentially expanding it internationally. Probably we will be collaborating with a new TESOL International Mentorship interest section. So probably it will be a nice thing. One more initiative is like EMI basic course for university subject teachers. And this idea was launched in 2021, but because of the war, it was disrupted for a couple of years, but we restored it. The idea is that we are having teachers from who are specializing in different subjects at universities, and we are trying to teach them how to teach those subjects in English, using the English as the medium of instruction. And we are really proud that some of the participants, they became leaders of their universities. Like from our previous program, one participant became the rector of the university. other participants were like vice rectors and so on. So that's like really transformative experience for us as teachers who are trying to somehow motivate not only English language teachers but those teachers who would like to teach in English, but at the same time they are developing their leadership skills as well. Also, we had summer institutes, different winter institutes, different projects connected to storytelling, creative writing, positive influence at work, trauma-sensitive teaching, social emotional learning, AI in education. You can ask, for example, why creative writing during war? Well, because creativity allows emotional resilience, as we can say. Storytelling rebuilds identity. Language is not only academic, it's human. So we are communicating, we are building rapport with others. And it's, for example, the leadership ideas to do that, to do some kind of psychological renewal, professional development, and so on. So just it was a little bit brief, and I want to give floor also to my colleagues
No, not a
from
problem, my dear.
from other associations.
No, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Siri, for sharing lots of ideas, lots of things going on, and I want to congratulate each and every one of you guys over there in your region, what you got going on. There are lots of challenges. I know, topics like this, sometimes they are not always the best thing to discuss or come up with. But I would say that you and your association in the region, yeah, I see you guys are working together, getting things together, and moving forward, supporting, being supportive, organizing, and looking for opportunities so that each and every one of your members, affiliate members, and the community as a whole are moving forward. So thank you so much, my friend. I'm gonna go ahead and move on, and Basma, if you would allow me. And I have a couple of questions here, but like I said again, I'm sure you're prepared some things. So I'm
Yes.
not going to push you. I'm not going to push you in my way, but I give you some ideas. I don't know if you want to go ahead and maybe share what you already have prepared in order to gain time, because I have tons of ideas and I want to make sure that we have an opportunity as well as time, Basma, so that we can move forward and actually maybe, who knows, at the end, in a few minutes, we would have some debate and a few questions between, yourself, Professor Okan, as well as Sergey in that particular instance, talk, around the topic. So once again, we're talking about conflict and leadership in that particular instance, lots of ideas that we have there. And well, Basma, it's all on you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, and thanks to my colleagues who have already given wonderful cases and examples of how to navigate conflict and get ready for it. So, what I would like to offer here is a framework that can help us navigate through the chaos that comes with conflict and offer some
Okay.
kind of clarity, because this is our role as leaders. So, I'd like to introduce the VOCA model and how it lends itself to our roles as leaders in associations, to our teachers as leaders in their classrooms, and to our students as well as leaders in their own lives later on. So, the VOCA model and how it can help us with that. So, what is VOCA and what does it stand for? VOCA spells as VUCA. So, the V stands for volatility, the U stands for uncertainty, and the C for complexity, and the A for ambiguity. So I'm going to offer a mix of examples of what we are doing in TESOL in our association, of things that teachers can do in their classrooms, and for students to use this model to face the challenges of life and how we can prepare them for that as well. So let's start with the first letter, the V, volatility. Rapid changes happening everywhere. Even when you face a power cut, as Sergey was saying, that this is a possibility. It's a possibility for me. I mean, we're not at war, but this can happen anywhere, anytime now. So there are many things that cannot be expected sometimes, and the situation and the landscape changes very quickly. The teaching environments are shifting. New curricula, for example, we have new curricula, new English language curricula implemented in Egypt. So when we know that, Nile TESOL got you. So we offered some teacher training sessions, professional development events, and we encourage speakers and presenters to help teachers tackle these changes. So what we can do in our association as well, because there could be changing happening here and there, we try to build resilience. As you have talked about resilience before, and actually resilience was the theme of our Nile TESOL conference this year. That was the guiding theme, and the topics we're talking about how we can build resilience in ourselves as teachers and in our students in all the variety of ways. And of course, we try to build resilience within our association itself. So that's the V in the VOCA, which is volatility. The next letter is the U, uncertainty, or the lack of predictability. The scene is always changing. The market is always changing. And I'm saying the market because we are preparing our students for a market that we don't know how it will look like. So we have to equip them with the skills that can help them deal with the unknown, like critical thinking, forward thinking, growth mindset, probably also emotional intelligence, how to manage conflict, how to think with clarity, how to plan, all of these skills so that they manage what we do not know that they will need to manage. On our level as associations, I think everywhere in the world we're facing the challenges of the uncertainty as well. So we're not sure if the events will run as planned. If we have an online event, we're not sure that the speakers will be able to make it due to so many variables that might come to play. Conferences, we're not sure if it will run as planned. We don't know about the venues. Maybe they will cancel. Maybe something will happen, geopolitical or economical, that will change the landscape overnight. So what we can do in associations is that we usually have contingency plans for this. And we try to also keep open communication amongst each other and amongst our participants if we are holding an event or something like that, just in case that something happens. So that's how we deal with uncertainty and also help our teachers and the students deal with it as well. The next letter is the C, complexity. And things are complicated. In associations, we are dealing with so many variables. There are so many interconnected factors that, get into planning whenever we're planning for an event or something. So we also face diverse needs of the teachers that we are working with. So you have the more experienced teachers who already know these topics. So some people will say, oh, they are old, everybody knows them. Well, but they are not. There are new teachers who still need to learn these things that we have learned many years back. So complex needs. Also, planning. We have different stakeholders, logistical complexities, sometimes even security clearances. It might be, something that we need to pay attention to. Travel arrangements, if we are traveling to represent the association somewhere else, budgeting, so many things, so many complex logistical elements and planning elements to keep in mind. So what we try to do is to simplify the decision-making process and break down bigger chunks into more manageable ones. And also we encourage cooperation and coordination between different committees and the association so that we do not duplicate the work and we can capitalize on the skills, the experience, and the backgrounds of people who can actually help make something happen in a better way. Try to find shortcuts as well. So that's the C in the VOCA principle. The A, the final letter, is ambiguity. We do not sometimes have clear answers. On a student level, they don't have a clear answer about what they want to do when they grow up. Oh, okay, probably AI will take over a lot of jobs. That's always a concern for people. So yeah, I want to be this. I want to be a designer, but will there be designing jobs? I mean, maybe when I graduate, there won't be any. So how do we prepare our students to face that? On a teacher's level, We might have challenges with, I don't know, I'm working with this curriculum. I don't know if it will still be on for next year. Maybe they will change it. Maybe they will modify it. I don't know when the exams will be, if you are having, if you have standardized exams or something. So many ambiguous elements that can be there or face a teacher when they are planning. And on our level as an association, sometimes the funding, we're not sure if we're going to receive funding, and stakeholders might not be sure that they will be able to provide it, any kind of support, any kind of logistical arrangements. So this could be very frustrating when you don't know what's going to happen, when you're not receiving clear answer, when we don't have clarity. So what we try to do is to remind ourselves. Now, TESOL is based on volunteerism. So we try to remind ourselves and try to remind our volunteers of why we are doing this, of our mission. Why are we doing this? Our mission, our vision, our core values. And we also try to celebrate the little achievements. So smaller events all year round. We have held around, I think, over 50 events all year round, plus our yearly conference attended by an average of 4,000 to 5,000 every year. So we try to, keep the learning happening and the support to the teachers happening all year long through our professional development and our special interest group events. We try to keep that going, smaller events, more manageable, plus our big yearly conference. And we celebrate the learning, we celebrate the achievements and the different milestones that we arrive at. So that's the VOCA model and how we use it at TESOL, or how we can use it as associations, as teachers, and even as individuals to navigate the difficult times of, conflict. So I just want to end by saying that leadership is not about eliminating chaos. It's about guiding people through it and offering some kind of clarity, compassion, and courage. So that's what we try to do as leaders. And we do that by providing vision when things are volatile, providing trust when things are uncertain, and trying to make things simple where there is complexity, and remind people of values where there is ambiguity. So that's the VOCA model and how it can lend itself. And I hope you guys can relate to it as well in your own contexts. Back to you,
Well,
Jermaine.
very profound. Thank you so much, my dear Professor Basma. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for your intervention as well. Like I said again, these spaces and opportunities that we have, they're designed for us as leaders to figure out, what we can do, how we can help each other. We have many different things going on, and like I said again, at the end of the day, there's so much to consider, so much to do. I was doing my best, trying to take notes as fast as I could, in the chat box, just highlighting some of the things that you talked about, some of the things that you discussed, and like I said again, I just want to harp on a couple of those before I move on to my next question. It's about leadership in terms of guiding, compassion, working with each other, trying to figure out what's going on. You talk about also providing a vision, which also very great in terms of seeing the big picture. I see, and many times across the board, that a lot of our affiliates, a lot of associations, our affiliates, our members, they don't have grasp of that big picture. I should say that vision that the association has, but as members, they're like kind of sometimes lost. And I think it's good, like you just, talked about, Professor Baswa. Yeah, we need to give them that vision, help them out, figure out what's going on so that trust can be built. Trust is key, trust and confidence in that particular instance. And I also loved your ideas in terms of da-da-da-da, trying to make things simple. Yeah. So oftentimes we complicate life. So oftentimes we complicate lots of things and what we got going on. But like I said again, thank you so much for your intervention in that particular instance. As time is short, and I really want to move forward, so we have an opportunity to move forward. I don't know, Karen, is there something else you would like to add, take away, or maybe others within the region would like to maybe complement, talk about some of the things that are going on based on what we just talked about right now. I have tons of questions and I can keep talking for an hour. I can take talk, but that's not the idea. We have a program. We have to be structured, organized, but also flexible. But at the same token, I love the model that you guys have, Basma, and I'll be more than happy to share it with the rest of the TESOL community affiliates in that particular instance and how they can tackle, organize, deal with, manage, and also embrace what we got going on. Because yeah, we're talking about the MENA region today, but who knows, tomorrow, the next day, we could also be talking about where I live, Central, South America, the Caribbean, where we do have a lot of other issues similar in nature, not the same, but we do have a lot of things related to conflicts, education, teacher education, and just overall English language teaching. So thank you so much for participating. I'm not sure if there's someone else would like to, I don't know, add something um, to the works.
Maybe just a closing remark. Is that okay,
Please, my
Jamin?
friend, please. Yes,
I
that's
just want
okay.
to say
Call me
that
by name.
according to Faye Wattleton, the only safe ship in a storm is leadership. Oftentimes, we are all
Okay.
leaders here. The members of the association do not understand the struggles that the leaders go through on daily basis. They sit there, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you give us this? Why don't you? So leadership is like
Yes.
it's like a soccer game or football game in America. You sit in the stands as a spectator,
Yeah.
cross the ball, kick the ball, pass it. Oh, why didn't you do? But when you now get on the field of play, it's a different ball game altogether. The more reason as leaders we should encourage our members to join the leadership pipeline so that they can learn and also be able to bring in their ideas. So that's just my closing remark. Thank you.
No, thank you,
And
my friend. Thank
and
you,
if
Doctor.
you let me
Go ahead.
know.
Yes, Sergey, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. So actually, despite all of the disruptions that we have, TESOL Ukraine will continue advocating for all of our projects. I had a couple of more slides, like participating of TESOL Ukraine leaders and others in different conferences, for example, TESOL international conventions
Yeah.
or IETFL international conferences and so on.
Mhm.
But still the time is limited and so on. But we plan to think about some kind of collaboration with other TESOL associations as well, with the global one and also other ELT associations. And actually, leadership, like in our case, it's not like something that we should uh, tell. For example, it's like something like authoritative leadership or something like that. But in our case, it's more about shared responsibility. It's about care when we care about our teachers, when we think about our sustainable professional development. Not
Okay.
just professional development, like I attended the conference or some teachers attended the conference, but also to
Yeah.
motivate
Yeah.
them to use those materials that they got from these conferences, and also to share,
Okay.
like cascade this knowledge from these conferences or events to other teachers. So this is what we're trying to do. And even
Okay.
in like uncertainty or these uncertain times, we can rise together and hope for the Ukrainian restoration and rebuilding.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Okay. How are we doing on time, Karen?
Technically 1 minute, but I would certainly love to hear any closing remarks. This has been such an insightful discussion.
Sure. So there's a minute. I won't take it because I can take 5, but I won't take that minute. I'll just allow that minute for someone else to maybe share some thoughts, um, any closing comments that would complement, what we just talked about a few seconds ago. Okay. Well, silence telling me as a good professor, I'm gonna move forward and just kind of close it up. And so Like I said again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for participating. I know this is a very short intervention, and these are things that, TESOL Internationals will, through the ANPC, we're looking forward to doing more of these types of interventions and activities and things of that nature, so we can figure out what is it that we can do. What is it that we can do from, I don't know, a larger perspective, a larger, in that particular instance. Today, we're talking about the MENA region. Tomorrow, we can talk about another region. We all have issues and complex issues and things that we have to deal with. Marketing, we have to talk about the budget, finance. We have to talk about how can we maintain, what we do in our classrooms without teachers. But like I said again, it's always overwhelming and it's always fulfilling, if I can say that. Yeah, to know, to understand, and to feel that wow, the struggles that I have here in South America, Central America, are very similar to what other people are going through, and we are using maybe similar strategies, similar ideas, and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, the passion that each and every one of you have is to be commended. Is to be commended. So thank you so much for participating in this little session, little mini intervention here today. And so I'm gonna give it over to Karen, and then that way we can start our third panel, and then we'll see what we got going on from there.
All right. Thank you, Jermaine. And thanks again to our speakers, Okan, Sergey, and Basma. We're going to take another short break so you guys can all take a little mental step away from the screen, grab some food, do what you need to do. And we will come back at the top of the hour with our last panel of the evening, which will be on resilience, collaboration, and adaptability for leadership. And Marwan will take over at the top of the hour. So we'll see you back in just a little bit. Don't
Okay,
disconnect. Go ahead and turn off your screen and mute your audio.
perfect.
I'm teaching right now.
All right, team, it is now the top of the hour. So we're going to come back for our very, very last panel of the evening tonight. And this panel is going to be on the topic of resilience, collaboration, and adaptability for leadership. So once again, we'll speak for about 30 minutes and try to save the last 15 minutes or so for discussion and comments. So if I can, I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to my colleague Marwan, who will lead us through this last panel. Marwan, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you, dear colleagues from all over the world. So basically, I would like to start my talk with thanking everybody who has joined this event, which is basically designed and organized for the affiliate leaders for just exchange of knowledge and sharing the expertise throughout the years, the expertise that I've gained throughout the years. And our panel basically explores the the leadership, not as an individual authority, not like having somebody just leading a group of community as a sort of kind of dictators, let's say, but as the capacity to build a kind of resilient systems and sustain meaningful partnerships and adapt to rapid changes. So our panelists, Ania Altamirano and Rana Khan, she is from Spain, Ania from Spain, and TESOL Spain. Rana Khan from TEFL Kuwait, and also Samir Omara from TESOL, Nile TESOL. And basically, they are going to be, they represent three different regions, one from Kuwait, one from Spain, and the other one from Egypt, North Africa. And we hope to have a very rich and engaging discussion. And we would like to ask them to share their experience in terms of commitment and professional development and collaboration and inclusive governance. So I would like to give some time to Annie and to Altamirano. I'm sorry about misspelling it, mispronouncing it. So I would like you just to introduce yourself and telling us about your background and your academic career in general. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, great. So I'm Aniel Tamirano. I'm originally from Argentina, but living in Spain for the last 23 years. I'm a teacher of English. I did my career, my studies in Argentina at the university. And I also hold an MA from the University of London. I was part of FAAPI, that's the Argentine Teachers Association, while I was living there. And then when I moved to Spain, I became a member of TESOL Spain. Then soon I became the area coordinator for the region where I live, that is Castilla y León. And after a couple of years, I was invited to join the board as a regional coordinator. So I was in charge of coordinating the work of all the area coordinators in the different regions of the country. In 2014, I became president. And then in 2018, I stepped down as president and I became vice president for another 5 years. And I am now the liaison officer in charge of relations with, not just with associations within the country, but international associations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Ania. And let's ask our colleague, Rana Khan from TEFL Kuwait. She is the president of TEFL Kuwait, but I'm sure she has got more stuff to tell us about her background.
Thank you so much, Marwan, first of all, for inviting us. I would like to thank NPC team and everybody here who have joined us to listen to us. So as you introduce myself, my name is Rana. I'm based in Kuwait. I'm from India, but I've been living and working in Kuwait for the last 13 years. I'm an assistant professor in School of Foundation and, of course, in School of Business at Canadian College of Kuwait. My TESOL journey started in 2015 when I joined TESOL Kuwait. of course, and where I'm living as a member, and then I joined the board. And in 2018, I joined TESOL International as a CPC member. And then I stayed there for 4 years, became CPC chair, ran the COVID conference. Well, I was planning to go to Denver, and all of a sudden this whole thing happened. So, and my year was supposed to be in Houston. So I ran for the person who was supposed to take place in Denver. So I was supposed to run Houston, and I covered Denver as well, online, of course. So there's been a lot that has happened. And then once I stepped down from CPC, this is when I thought that we need to start our own small group. And we started TEFL Kuwait in 2021. And I think there has been no looking back. Alison is here. I invited her especially because she has been my friend, my partner in every single thing that I have done, along with Sandra, who is not here. I will mention those three, the three of us, as we call ourselves as three musketeers. That's what we are.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alison, for joining us. And I'm sure we will need her expertise and sharing her insights within the discussions because we'll have a good deal of time for the participants to ask questions and share insights during the panel. And I would like to ask Mr. Samir, who is our colleague at ANPC, Affiliate Network Professional Council, and he has served during 2021, I think, as the president of the Nile TESOL. And I am sure he is here just to share a very good deal of his expertise in terms of leadership and challenges that they have or he has let's say, faced as a sort of leader during his career. Samir, you want to say some other words until we get the panel started?
Yes.
The discussions.
Hello, this is Samir Amara. I'm an English language teacher and teacher trainer for the Ministry of Education and Technical Education in Egypt. I've been teaching English for public schools, public language schools, STEM schools, and applied technology schools as well. I joined Nile TESOL Teacher Association in 2014. In 2018, I was elected as a board member. I was chosen to be the International Relations Committee Chair for a year, then a sixth committee chair, then the membership committee chair. Then I was elected as the president-elect. In 2021, I served as the president of Nile TESOL while there was the COVID-19 pandemic. And in 2022, I served as the past president. Currently, I am one of the co-chairs for the Testing, Evaluation, and Assessment SIG. I'm a member of TESOL International since 2018. I have taken part in Africa ELTA activities. I believe in teacher development, and I think that I'm a lifelong learner, and I believe that it's a duty to learn and to help others learn as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Samir. So I would like to start the first question with the first panelist, Ani Alta Mirano from Spain, from TESOL Spain, let's say, yeah. And I would like to ask you, Ani, about your expertise in terms of the collaboration with our associations, because we as TESOL Kurdistan remember that got inspired by your support, that the support that you provided with some of the associations, like for example TESOL Kurdistan or other associations within the Europe, and your leadership capacity, also adaptive leadership that you have provided, and what it takes, that is my question, what it takes to create like these synergies, like with other associations, like reaching out to them and sharing knowledge and like supporting them, for example.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Marwan, for inviting me. Thank you, TESOL, and thank you, the ANPC, for inviting me. I think, I mean, I would like to start with something personal, because throughout the years, I have always believed in the power of partnership. And partnership between associations, and what since I became president of TESOL Spain, I called sister associations, and it's it's a bit, it's become the name that we give our friends from other parts of the world. And I see some familiar faces here. Alison, hello.
So good to see you.
Lovely to see you too. I met Alison in Izmir. It was 3 years ago, I think, when TESOL Turkey organized a fantastic event where I see somebody very familiar face also here, Ghana. Hello. And Rana and many others, we joined there to discuss conflict, and it was the previous panel resonated so much with me because it was a wonderful event, a 2-day event, lots of energy there, friendships. It was fantastic. That's why I call our friends from other associations our sister associations. I think that associations are stronger when they work together. And right now, I think that no association can develop and flourish in isolation because we need each other. We are facing all these years. At least I've had the opportunity of meeting friends and teachers and delegates from other associations and discussing the problems that we have. They are very similar. So it's essential that we build bridges, and that's the slogan of our online conference, building bridges, building collaboration, because without that, we cannot flourish. We cannot offer our members what our members deserve right now, not just what they want, what they deserve, I think. And as to your other question, Marwan, was about sorry.
What it takes to create these synergies with other associations, yeah.
What it takes, a lot of work. To begin with, a lot of work. Because many people think, and I see it also not just as a former president, as a former vice president, but as a current liaison officer. And then I'm going to develop a little bit about that. Many people think that it's just a matter of exchanging emails and information about each other's events. No, it's not like that. I've had the privilege of meeting some of my colleagues in person in different events, but it's not always possible. So here's where technology helps, because, for example, this, how come? I mean, we wouldn't be able to get together in person, all of us, for this 3-hour, 4-hour event. So this is bringing us together. So it's this use, this positive use of technology that helps build these bridges and build these relationships with teachers. Marwan, that's the experience we have. When you wrote to me a few years ago, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, you first wrote to me, and we immediately set up a Zoom meeting, and we are in contact on WhatsApp, and we try to find ways of doing things together, and I think that that's the whole point of it, doing things together and establishing these relationships that sometimes develop into friendships, into actual friendships. So I think that that's the point. It takes time. Of course, it takes time.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You reminded me of my experience in terms of expanding the network of my connections. I remember that I started communicating with you and Rana and other friends like Sergey here and Germain Marianella. So like through communications, we started like to expand like those connections and communications and like our network. And as you said, like the more we have like friends, the stronger we are. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Anya. So actually, based on my experience, I remember that we have had like meetings and communications and exchange of experience and expertise with the people who are here from TESOL Ukraine, from TESOL Spain, from TEFL Kuwait, and many other associations around the region. Thank you so much, Anya. Of course, we'll get back to you, but I would like to ask Rana Khan from TEFL Kuwait as a young association that is the outcome of a sort of digital disruption. Can you just share some of your expertise about the creativities and the challenges and like things that you have faced throughout your career?
Yeah, thank you so much, Marwan. Can I share my screen if you can allow
Sure. Yeah, it
me?
is. Yeah,
I will,
yeah.
because I have some nice pictures to share while I. Okay, let me see if I can. Can you see?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so as Marwan referred to us, we are a young association, but our true strength lies basically in adapting to change, inclusive leadership, and of course, collaboration, as I think most of us have shared this through experience. I'm the founding president of TEFL Kuwait, and this is what I wanted to share. The three musketeers. One of the musketeers is present, luckily, with us, and this is why I asked Alison to join me. So this is me, Alison, and of course Sandra, who stepped down a couple of years ago. Oh, sorry. Sorry, let me go back. Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So Alison has been hanging around with me. So it's two musketeers, but I think we're still together. Alison, would you agree with me?
Yes, absolutely. Although I have stepped down, but I'm still the butterfly in the wings somehow.
We cannot do without you, Alison. It's a partnership, and we live it. We live it until the end, of
Mutual.
course. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
until the end.
Yeah, so the three of us started this organization back in 2021, and there has been no looking back. Mashallah, it has grown phenomenally. From a very small number, it has really risen. So as I said, our strength lies in change, adaptation, and resilience. Resilience through change, as we adapted to disruptions like most other organizations as COVID was happening. I think we present ourselves as sustainable growth model because we offer free membership. This is what we are still sticking by. Of course, we have very diverse presentation in our leadership model. And of course, we have been collaborating, learning from other associations. And I would like to mention TESOL Turkey, who have been a leading example for us. And that's how I met Annie, actually. So this is how, see, networking happens. So this is amazing. We need to learn from each other. So let's look at the first part, which is resilience through change. How did we adapt to disruptions? As I mentioned earlier, also, uh, during the COVID times, everybody was struggling, and we felt that people needed to connect. We were all isolated in our own homes, and so the world had started opening, but we are still kind of clinging to ourselves. And so, and of course, we needed to learn from each other. And everybody was on Zoom, Teams, but it was not just the platforms that we'll be using. We had to learn so much more. And the three of us thought that it was important that we learn and grow together with other people. And that's how we came into existence. It was a local affiliate. And thanks to Dr. Harry Kucha, who helped us become an ITFL associate immediately. And we started connecting. So initially we were local, but then we thought that let's open our doors to the other regional members because we were virtual in the beginning. And so that's how we started connecting with regional communities. And then we thought that since we had, because of my background and Allison's background with TESOL International, we had a lot of friends and colleagues in other parts of the world, and we thought that it's a golden opportunity to let other people in. And since we were free membership, so we thought let's invite everybody, and that's how we opened our gates to global membership. And since it is a virtual organization, we thought that, and of course in 2020, after 21, we started coming back to campus. We wanted to connect in person, so we decided to keep a hybrid model where we host both kinds of events, in-person conferences twice a year, and other events where we connect with global and regional members through webinars and other events, so that we don't deprive our global and regional members of any kind of professional development growth. The second thing that we can really boast of is our sustainable growth model, which offers free membership. Now, it is challenging. Ellison would agree with me, because we have struggled all these 4 years how to host those in-person events as much as we want to be together. It's very important. It's really difficult, Yani, to get, because we don't charge a single dime from anybody for membership or for any attendance of events, whether they are virtual or they are in person. So that is a challenge, how to get those funds and from where. So, but we have been surviving, isn't it, Alison? We have been doing great, I guess. Every year, our conference draws people from across the region, and even this year, it's drawing a lot of people from different countries. From the region itself. So, and then many times, a lot of people suggested that we should do away with this free membership model, but we decided no, we will continue with this no matter how we are going, but we will, and we have been doing very well. So we do get a lot of support from other educational institutions that help us in sustaining this model. Also, our sustainability rests in representative leadership. So as I mentioned earlier, it's not just free membership, it's also very diverse background of our members that represents the region as well as the world, that brings a lot of representation across countries and regions. And that is the beauty of TEFL Kuwait, I guess, which is very, very unique in its own sense. Also, we have SIGs that have chairs or leaders that represent different skill sets. And for that reason, we have kept it very, very global. And we don't restrict it to Kuwait or to the region itself, because again, this is very special background that or interest section that people represent. And it's a reason for people to connect with each other. And SIGs have been doing great. We have approximately 10 SIGs representing diverse interests for members to connect and learn from each other. Another strength that we can really, we are very proud of is our diverse and inclusive board. So half of our board is local because we are an ITFL associate. We have to have a local president and president-elect, but and the core board. But for the rest of the board, we try to bring in members from across the region and across the world, so that we have a very diverse background representing in the board itself. And it really brings a lot of skill set, a lot of knowledge, shared expertise. It really builds and it makes what TEFL Kuwait is today. And we are very proud of that. It represents a real, as I say, a microcosm of cultural, linguistic, and educational diversity, because we can bring in a lot of shared expertise from different backgrounds, which is very, very relevant to its members. And it also draws people to TEFL Kuwait, because when we have diverse board members, seeing that, a lot of people join us. So we represent Asia, Middle East, Europe, Africa, and North America across the globe. It's very, very diverse. And each board member brings unique pedagogical traditions and academic experiences. And thus we are able to share an expertise and best practices which represent regional educational realities. And it's really very enriching and it helps people across the world. And the most important is collaboration, like everybody else mentioned. And this is where I met Marwan also, and actually Annie. And we first started this, I think, 2 years ago. We have been building this collaboration 2 years. Every fall, we host a conference, which is virtual, so that we can bring in our global members. And it's been a regional strength for us. But we have partnerships across GCC, MENA, and so we have as far as Spain. So Annie has been a partner with us for the last 2 years. So it allows us to have shared expertise, joint conferences, research initiatives. So it's like, we act like a regional bridge, and it allows us to grow in global standards. And so this allows us to sustain as a model, as a growth model. And we can say that we are an example of resilient leadership, effective collaboration, and continuous adaptability. I would like to share a picture here. Yes, so you can see Marwan here. This is from previous year, and we had this conference where 70 sols. But no, sorry, this is 24, 25. We had another one. Yes. So, but yes, we have been. See how many? Sorry. So we have, sorry, what did I do here? Yes. So we had 70 souls join us, which was marvelous. And Marwan was there, a part of it. And it really allows us to grow and connect together. It's amazing experience. And it's like, an addiction. We keep doing it year after year. And each year we add new members. So Marwan has been added, and I hope we can have more people. And then in the end, I would like to draw your attention to the TEFL Kuwait conference, which is on 4th of April. Again, you can see our speakers represent, we have Dr. Liz England from US, we have Dr. Stavros from Kuwait, and Dr. Okon, who is also here. He's from the region. So it's very, very regional look that we have. Even our presenters, concurrent presenters, are from the region. So it's not just local. We try the focus to be on the region and from the world. Yeah. Thank you so much. I hope I was able to express what I wanted to say.
You.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Manaf. Actually, reminded me of the remarks of our keynote speaker, the time that she was referring to her, let's say, experience of having friends or students from like all over the world. So honestly, me as an individual who was living in an, let's say, a community that was, let's say, kind of cut off from the world, right now I am proud, honestly speaking, to have friends like Karen, Annie, Rana, and many other friends, Samir, Alison, and like all those people are here, just like Oken, Marianela, like friends from all over the world, from like Brazil to Ukraine, Spain, and like US, Canada, and all countries around the world. Yeah. So that is the good thing that honestly we always have to be proud of in terms of academic engagement and our academic career. Yeah. So actually, there was a question that was like posted here by Karen asking about like funds and just like the way that we provide funds for our like activities. I'm sure we like within the Middle East we might have like more challenges, but like within Europe, I'm sure like Annie has got more. Maybe you have got more like sponsors available, but always we have been through challenges. Maybe Annie, you can just share some like few sentences about it. After that, we get back to our friend Samir to start his session. Yeah.
I've always wondered how you manage, Rana. In Spain, it would be absolutely impossible to survive without charging something. And our membership fee is very low, and still there are people who complain. But it would be absolutely impossible to survive without having a membership fee, because um, years ago, I mean, TESOL Spain will be celebrating its 50th anniversary next year. And from what I learned when I joined, in the first time, that is, in the beginning, there were sponsors, there were some international, national, very strong national firms that supported us. But then gradually, they withdrew their financial support. And it's impossible. Here, everything is so expensive that we really have to count sometimes. That is, we work closely with universities and schools, and Some of them, for example, the University of Salamanca, I live in Salamanca, the University of Salamanca really supported us a lot because they gave us access to their premises. We could have two annual conferences here, one in 2015 and the other in 2020, just before lockdown. I think it was the last international event before lockdown. Yes, it was the nick of time. And they gave us the premises for free. But that is unheard of. I mean, I think it's the only university in the country that allowed us to use the premises for free. There are some schools, for example, in Madrid, we are going to have our anniversary conference, our 50th conference next year in Madrid. And there is a school, a large school that is giving us the premises for free. But it would be impossible. Here in Spain, it's impossible to do that. So how do you do it?
Yeah, it's
Well,
always challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think just as you said, in Kuwait, we have been very lucky to get those educational institutions support us without charging a dime. And the thing is, the only challenge is Arab hospitality. You know, they don't expect an event without food,
Oh,
without
yes, of
yeah,
course.
Marwan understands that.
It's
Marwan
the same
understands. I
here.
mean,
Yeah.
it's necessary. It's necessary. I mean, in TESOL, they don't even ask you for water or anything. And you have to fend for yourself. But this is Arab hospitality. So this is the challenge. And also to bring speakers from outside. That's the challenge. But
Yeah.
we have been able to survive because the educational institutions are very, very supportive, and they're very, very generous and benevolent. Voila. This is how we have been able to live. Alison would
So
agree with
basically,
me, isn't it, Alison?
yeah, the Middle East context is always quite different. So I would like just give space to Alison, just raising her maybe comment or question, but I would just
Yeah.
leave the floor to Samir, just like take care of the answer if there is a question. Yeah. Yeah, Alison, please.
Can I go ahead now? Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, guys, I was a witness. I was there, and still am. Rana herself supported a lot of our activities, if the truth be told. For example, paying for the website, and of course, she would never say it, but I have to point that out. And some of the rest of us chipped in too when possible. So that was, but then we did find sponsors. So Karen, in answer to your question, that's how it happened, combination. And I'd like to say something about our earliest days that really surprised and inspired me. In end of 2019, we imagined a very local, very small, maybe 50 members, professional organization in Kuwait with maybe a few joining from Dubai. That was the extent of it. Pandemic hit, we realized we have to go online. As soon as we went online, something unexpected happened. All kinds of people all over the world also were online, and they saw us and they asked if they could join, and they were from all over the world, places that we couldn't imagine or dream of. And there's where the fact that our membership was free, teachers who had been isolated their whole life, not just in the pandemic, but forever, had been isolated, in previous decades, never had a chance to interact professionally with others. They saw that it was free and it was possible for them. And then we took another step, which was coaching them, mentoring them. They didn't know how to give a presentation or submit an application to present at a conference. We trained them step by step, and it was the most inspiring and enjoyable activity. So that's a couple of highlights that I'd like to
Yeah,
contribute.
thank you. Actually, the time that we as educators, uh, for example, again, getting back to my experience as a young educator or a young leader, for example, I remember that the time that I just reached out to some of the associations, like, for example, TESOL Spain, for example, the time that we provided kind of like webinars for underrepresented educators, or the time that I reached out to the International TESOL Association, providing some free memberships to the members, like here in our region, or IATFL just providing some scholarships. it just gave me a very good feeling, honestly. Just like at least I'm just like contributing something to my community who is just like kind of like cut off from the like advanced countries, let's say. Yeah. So let's get back to Samir. Samir, who has served as the president of the TESOL, Nile TESOL, getting back. So we heard something from Europe, from Spain, from Middle East, and let's get back to the north of Africa. So Samir, what do you have to tell us about what were some of your initiatives in terms of adaptability and transformational leadership, just within your context? Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. At the beginning of 2020, we used it to plan in-person activities of Nile TESOL as usual. Life went on normally, and then on March, in the middle of March, there was a school closure, local, national, and global lockdown everywhere due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For 2 or 3 months, we had no clear vision what to do because there was some chaos all over the world related to schools, to education system, to teacher association. Everything was not clear, but we took this time to explore the new context. What should we do? At that point of time, I was the president-elect and the sixth committee chair. We started to think about new alternatives. How would we continue to support and empower teacher development in Egypt and beyond, despite the challenges of school closure and global lockdown? We started some different initiatives because we wanted to continue to support the teachers. 90 membership is free, similar to TEFL Kuwait. This is for free because we have great partners and sponsors. They are the School of Continuing Education at the American University in Cairo, the Regional English Language Office at the US Embassy in Cairo, Amidist Egypt, and British Council Egypt. So these four entities are greatly supporting Nile TESOL. They fund the different activities. The School of Continuing Education is giving the premises of the American University in New Cairo campus. This is for the annual in-person conference. But starting from March 2022, we had 2020, we had a new context in which we couldn't meet in person. We started to do our board meeting online. We started to shift to online collaboration, not only among the members of the board, and not only among the members of Nile TESOL Teacher Association, but also we started to collaborate with others. And I will recall the quote from Annie that when teacher associations work together, they become stronger and they build the capacity of their individuals and the teacher association themselves as well. So we started to delegate more of new leaders of Nile TESOL special interest groups. We stopped doing a committee called the professional development because it was of a general umbrella for different activities. It was convenient to the in-person context. But when we started to the online or the virtual context, we gave more focus to the special interest groups. Instead of having six interest groups, we started to have 9 with more and more areas of knowledge related to teacher development. And we gave those new leaders the power to start planning with each other, to conduct virtual meetings via Zoom and different platforms. So we try to empower those persons. Beside this, when we get some memberships, free memberships or discounted memberships from Africa ELTA, TESOL International, IATFL, we started to nominate those active new leaders to attend and to take part in different memberships and activities in order to prepare them for the next coming years to lead this teacher association. In 2021, we conducted the first virtual conference of Nile TESOL. Instead of having 3,000 or 4,000 participants at the American University in New Cairo, we started to have a big number on Zoom instead of having this in person. It was a great shift to conduct such a big conference online, but it was a great success. Besides this, we started to continue producing the annual newsletter in which we collect some articles and the news of the teacher association. We produced the conference proceedings with some key features articles from the presentations given at the virtual conference, and we did something great, I think, at that point of time. We conducted the General Assembly and the online elections for the new board members. Before that, we used it to have in-person elections inside the premises of the American University, but we started to think of alternatives. We need to continue to generate more leaders for the teacher association, and we kept to conduct the membership registration and the online elections of the board members. We continue to collaborate with other teacher associations. We have a memoranda of understanding with TESOL Spain, and we took part in the first virtual conference of sister associations with TESOL Spain. And this was a great experience for some teacher associations and leaders from Europe, North Africa, and MENA region to come together and to think of the new context that was generated by the COVID-19 pandemic. This was a good experience. And we started to support TESOL Libya. At that point of time, TESOL Libya was an emerging teacher association. So we supported it. We continued to communicate with the new leaders of TESOL Libya to start their association. And now it's working well within the Libyan context. All these things have helped us to continue to do the virtual conference of Nile TESOL in 2022, as we were not allowed to start the in-person version again. We continue to do this in 2022, and I think that when we empower the new leaders of Nile TESOL, when we delegated them, when we assigned them responsibilities, and when we trusted them, I think that they did a great job, and they became a new generation of new leaders for the teacher association. And after that, they continued the success of Nile TESOL. In 2021, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of Nile TESOL, and this year, in February, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of Nile TESOL back at the American University in New Cairo. It was a great event with more than 5,000 participants. I think the key lessons learned from the shift to online or virtual context and back to the in-person or hybrid context is trust and empowering more new generations of leaders and working together with other sister associations. All these are keys for success of teacher association as individuals, as leaders, and as a group of professionals working together in our context and all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you so much. So actually, again, you reminded me, Samir, as somebody, Kevin, actually, I was supposed to be within the panel, not to be moderator, because I want to talk a lot about my experience as within the context. So basically, Samir reminded me again, a lot of credit again goes to Anya Tamirano, because she has been serving as a liaison officer, and she has done a lot of connections like and communications. And we signed an MOU with TESOL Spain, TEFL Kuwait, Nile TESOL. So all those connections, in a way, just like, let's say, in a sense, it's just like we owe it to Annie. Again, I would like to thank you for all of your like generosity and your help and support for like the, let's say, smaller associations around the globe. So I would like just to give some time to audience if someone wants to share any questions, because I checked the chat box, no questions typed there.
I would
Kevin,
like
if you
to
want to add
point
something.
out something, Marwan. There is nothing
Yeah,
like a small association.
yeah, yeah, smaller countries. I mean,
No, no, no. There is nothing.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's the way I see it. There
Yeah.
is nothing like a small association. All associations bring a wealth of experience, of expertise, of work to the field. So there is nothing, and I think that that's one of the main things to bear in mind when when you are a liaison leader, let's say, because it's like we have to avoid this thing of this is the big association and this is the small association. So the big association is the one that does everything, and they teach the smaller association to do things. That's not the point. That's not the point. It's helping each other. I don't like that idea of the
So
smaller
anyway,
association.
I would like to correct my statement, and in a sense, let's say just correct it like the associations have got like that have got more, let's say, resources or support, maybe. Yeah,
Maybe you can say new,
yeah,
younger
yeah.
association.
So
But
yeah. Mm.
because, for example, uh, something that we are supposed to be a big association. We are not. Uh, we are medium-sized association. There are, for example, API in Portugal. They have an incredible number of members. We would love to have the same number of members they have. We don't. Um, uh, and we are supposed to be a big association, but we don't receive support from universities or from embassies the way you receive in the Middle East, for example. So in that way, from that perspective, you are stronger than us because you get that support that we cannot, because for whatever the reason, they don't give us that support. So younger associations, but not smaller.
Yeah, perfect.
No.
Thank you. So, in case there are other questions that want to be addressed by any of the colleagues here, Kevin, maybe you want to say something, or Jermaine, or
Colleagues, I'm sorry to tell you that we're coming to the end of our time
yeah,
together tonight, just as we're getting warmed up. I'm so
yeah.
excited by all the new ideas that
No,
I've
yeah,
learned.
lots of things going on. Sorry about that. No, continue. Karen, go ahead.
Well, I think we'll have to sign off because I know a lot of you are eager to say goodnight to your families and get to bed. For us here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's only the afternoon. But I want to thank all of you for taking time this evening to join us. And I really hope you've been able to take away some new ideas for leadership in your specific context, and hopefully as well to make some new connections around the world in the field of English language education. I especially want to thank all of our panelists who were able to join us tonight, and to my awesome colleagues Marwan and Jermaine, and to our incredible TESOL staff liaison, Jeff Hutchison. Some of you have been in contact with Jeff for helping with the organization and the planning of our event tonight. Before we leave you for this evening, I just have a few really quick announcements. If you look in the chat box, you will see that I've shared a number of resources with you, and I'll just briefly talk you through some of what those are. So we're going to be having another webinar in April, on Saturday, April 11th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is going to be a structured, open discussion. We're calling it Fresh Perspectives Collectives, New Ideas for Leading TESOL Affiliates. So we're going to have people from all over the world joining us to share some of their success and even failure stories, if you will, to help us learn from them. So our ANPC team will be leading us through this hour and a half discussion. We'd love it if you can join. And again, in the chat box, you'll see the link to sign up and get the URL for that. We're still accepting articles for our spring ANPC newsletter. So if you have something that's been sitting on the shelf or somewhere on your computer, an article you'd like to share, highlights from your annual conference, professional development, leadership events, fundraising, any successes, please feel free to share that. And you can be in touch with me if you have any questions. Again, in the chat box, we've provided a link to submit your article. And the last thing is for those of you who will be able to join us in Salt Lake City in March, the AMPC will be hosting a few affiliate sessions and a workshop as well. We're also going to be hosting a booth in the expo hall. And if you are planning to come to TESOL Salt Lake, we'd love it if you can host the booth for an hour. It's a wonderful way to share info about your affiliate and to meet really fun people. That's been a great way for me to connect with others by hosting a booth. And if you will be in TESOL on the Thursday evening, we're going to be having an ANPC reception hosted by Vista Higher Learning. So come join us for some good food and some drinks and maybe even some dancing. So that's pretty much all I've got to say for today. Any famous last words, Marwan, Jermaine?
No, thank you so much. Thank you, Karen. Thank
No,
you
all is well
again,
on my
and
end.
all colleagues here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It was a great experience sharing all our
Yes,
insights.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for organizing this event
Yes,
and for
Ani,
inviting me.
gracias, gracias. You'll send an article. Love it. Jermaine,
Yeah,
maybe-
promise.
yeah, and Jermaine, if you want to turn some of those prompts that you were, AI prompts you were talking about into,
Ah, that'd be a great idea into a small article.
right?
I can do that. I can do
Sounds
that.
good.
That'd be
Doesn't
great.
have to
That'd be
be
great that we can
fancy.
share some ideas. Also, Karen, did you get a chance for us to take a picture, a couple of group shots? What do
I
you
think
think?
Ching Ching has taken some, and
Okay, Chin Chin is taking some pictures. Okay, super.
Tessia
So
took a
I'm
few.
gonna just leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah. All right, folks, enjoy the rest of your weekend or your first day back at work in the region tomorrow. And we hope to see you again in a future webinar. And hopefully, inshallah, we'll be able to meet in person someday too. All
Inshallah.
right.
Have a great
Thank you.
evening,
Thank you.
afternoon, everybody.
Bye-bye. Have a
Take
great
care.
evening.
That's
Bye.
for toes. Okay, you guys take care. Bye bye. And that's right. Happy St. Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all
Oh,
of us who
yeah.
celebrate. All the women, and the men, of course. You know, outs from my part here in Bogota, Colombia. You guys take care of yourself.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye bye. Ciao.